Hello and welcome to the Playing Arts Podcast, where we put the spotlight on artists in our community. I'm your host, Andy Needham, and this week my guest is David Ariew, who is also known as Octane Jesus in the motion design community. David began a career in neuroscience, but his passion lay in film, motion design and concert visuals, and this has led him to work with many bands, brands and artists who desire his highly polished visual style. I'm excited to dig in. So without further ado, welcome to the show, David. And how
Thanks so much, man. Pretty good. As I said, I don't love having the spotlight on me. I prefer like the conversational tone. I get like really like worked up and nervous when the spotlight's just fully on me. Like if it's the MoGraph guys, I can go forever because I just like interject little like shitty comments here and there. But when the spotlight's on me, I'm just like, I don't want to talk about myself for like 2 hours, you know, right. But I'll try. I will try.
We'll try. Well, I mean, it's been a busy year for you, and it's been
an insane whirlwind for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you had the drop on Nifty Gateway last night, and that's the Hypnotic Tripster one, which we'll definitely come back to. We'll get back to that later on. But like, I'm interested to just for now, just dig into your background, and we'll start at the beginning, I guess.
Let's start at the very beginning.
We'll give them a bit of context.
In Blacksburg, Virginia. No.
Maybe, if you want to go and overshare, that's up to you, dude, but let's just talk about how you went from a career in neuroscience to one of the leading artists in the field of motion design.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I don't know if I think of myself as one of the leading artists in the field of motion design, but thank you. So yeah, I mean, I did take a winding path into my career, as I think a lot of artists do, starting with, as you said, getting the bachelor's in neuroscience and philosophy, and then continuing on to get a master's in neuroscience. And honestly, all of that was just to humor my parents. I was very pressured into academia, and I absolutely hated it. That's not true. I loved college. Like, college was amazing. I made some of the best friends of my life there. But when it came to grad school and actually doing science as a job, it was like pulling teeth. And I just wanted to go swing dancing and like read sci-fi novels. And, it wasn't my jam. So like in the field of within academia, science was the thing that I connected with the most, I suppose. Like, so that's kind of where I went towards. But ultimately it wasn't my thing. I liked making goofy Zelda parodies with my friends, and like discovering iMovie 06. But yeah, I mean, that is where the filmmaking began. Yeah. And I made like really stupid mashups of like Pokemon and 300, and they went like viral on YouTube until Nintendo pulled them and shit like that. So it was, it started with just filmmaking. But yeah. And, Chelsea also like helped me realize that I needed to, take myself and my art as a potential career seriously. I actually met her in 2009. And so she was part of the, encouragement there to get out there and actually start doing like what I love. And she kind of pushed me into some like an internship with someone who became one of my best friends in Charlottesville. Like, he was a documentary filmmaker. And then from there, I, not too long after, got hired with this small production company that did visuals for Dave Matthews Band, along with other things like a bunch of music festivals, like these weird country music festivals, like Faster Horses Music Festival, and like Tim McGraw and Zach Brown Band. So it was like a lot of yeehaw, but it was like a good start. And I pretty much just soaked up everything I could. I've always been addicted to watching tutorials and software in general. So within that job, I really quickly got into shooting, editing, color grading, VFX, 2D motion design, and finally 3D, where I've made my home. But I don't regret any of those other skills that I picked up along the way, because they all contribute to what I love to do the most in 3D, which is digital cinematography. So really that's like composition, lighting, and camera movement. And then, at some point, like I did, like they fired some of my friends, and the jobs got less exciting. Like the peak at that job was really creating this epic Dave Matthews Band music video that I worked on for several months and, poured like nights and weekends into and worked way, way too hard, but, did everything in like Element 3D. And that was the first time I used Octane back in 2013.
I was going to say, right.
Yeah. So, but eventually I don't think so. Just looking for the cat. But yeah, I mean, eventually I, kind of outgrew that job, though I made some really, really good friendships. And within that job, I was able to really train myself up on everything. I got obsessed with, like I said, with camera equipment, and just like dropped my entire salary on camera gear so I could learn it and be able to communicate with the DP at the company. I got into color graded my first film, did DIT, data management jobs. Just basically anything I could get my hands on. I watched all of Nick Campbell's Grayscale Gorilla tutorials, all of Andrew Kramer's stuff, so it was a good training ground. But then in 2014, I went freelance and immediately like doubled my, the salary I was making at the time was like 40 grand per year. And then I started making like 80,000 right out of the gate by doing a lot of DIT jobs, actually, and then a lot of editing jobs. So that's a huge part of my career has been editing. And that's also, I think, why I love creating cinematic shorts and like cutting things together, because my eye is very like honed in on just edit points and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm also an educator in the community, and I've created a lot of free tutorials so that people can learn to do 3D art. And yeah, I guess we'll get into that later. But yeah, in general, like, my passion is digital cinematography, and yeah, I don't know what else. That's about it.
That all feeds into what you do now, which is 3D. And you have to, it's such a benefit to have like real world experience with cameras and with lights and all this kind of stuff, to know how to move them around in 3D. And, you may want to come back and explain Octane Jesus that I hinted at, well, I said at the beginning, because, obviously for me, I've known you for a while, and part of the motion design community, we all kind of know where this has come from, but
totally,
you got this nickname.
Yep.
You want to explain it?
Yeah, exactly. So many of the people in the NFT space might be confused, like you said, about why I've got this nickname and ridiculous profile picture. Yeah. So around 2017, I started doing tutorials for a friend of mine, EJ Hassenfratz's YouTube channel. He's like a very, very big, he's like the golden boy of Cinema 4D, that's the program many of us use for 3D motion design. So yeah, he's got like a really big following, and Maxon loves to parade him around to like help beginners get into Cinema 4D, because he has such an accessible style that looks really good and clean. It's like kind of cute, cartoony vinyl toy characters, or like Sketch and Tune, which is like, it's like a toon shading kind of thing with sketchy lines. And he got to be a really big expert at that. So he had like a channel of maybe a couple 100,000 subscribers or more, and he brought me on to just do tutorials. And like, that's kind of been the, like in my career, that's kind of been the path. Like a lot of the time it's like people ask me to do something, and I'm just like, okay, that's like, I just say yes to opportunities in general. Like even with like the 48-hour film contests I used to do, I've done like maybe 9 or 10 of those total. And they weren't like, they don't directly benefit your career, but they were like bonding experiences and times to like test yourself and how many VFX shots you could jam out in the course of 24 or 48 hours without sleeping. And like, and often those jobs, like, even if they're just completely random like that, you might meet someone, make a connection, like there were directors on set that would be like, oh, I need something like this for my short, so it would like lead to more things. And so that same thing was true with EJ's, channel.
Yep.
So yeah, like I said, around 2017, I started doing tutorials for EJ, specifically about my GPU render engine of choice, which is Octane. And then after doing several, someone in the comments called me Octane Jesus, thanks to my hair and my overall Jesus-like appearance, I guess. But yeah,
someone
weirdly
did a profile picture for you. The profile picture was created
weirdly
for
it
you,
caught
wasn't
fire, and everyone, even before the profile picture, everyone started calling me Octane Jesus in the comments of every tutorial I would post. Yeah. So I couldn't shake it, and I didn't really ever even try to. I just kind of rolled with it. But yeah, then it just started spiraling further out of control, and people started creating like fan art of me, like photoshopping my face into Jesus pictures. And the best one was by our mutual friend and also another amazing NFT artist, Smearballs, aka, his real name's Nick Denbor, but Smearballs is where you can find him. He makes he's like Syriac for 3D is how I think of him. Do you know the artist Syriac?
I don't.
That made all these crazy 2D. You've definitely seen his work. It's it's like goats splitting apart and recursively vomiting, more like weird, just really weird shit. But Smearballs kind of takes after that same like gross out humor style, but more in 3D. So anyway, that's what I've been using as my profile pic for years now is the Octane Jesus profile picture that he photoshopped together. And yeah, it's basically just an inside joke, and I've got the internet to thank for it. And I think the lesson is if the internet brands you, just roll with it. I mean, unless it's something like super offensive.
Yeah,
this is just kind of like skirting the line of just like vaguely offensive, where like super religious people might get offended. But I think that people are used to Jesus being such a, like South Park and all these cartoons, like, just like use Jesus in a joking way. And people are like very used to it at this point, where I don't think it really offends. Like I've got lots of religious people that have approached me and they're like, I pray to you, Jesus, like, they just think it's funny.
Well,
I've never had anybody. Yeah.
Instead of religious teachings, you're doing, Octane teachings.
There are some weird,
so
I guess you could say there are weird connections in that way that I like. I enjoy highlighting other artists and just having a lot of friends in the community. Like that's my favorite thing about our community is just like, we all go to events and we're all friends. And I just love that, that atmosphere and that community. And I feel like I'm afraid of losing it with the NFT scene. Thankfully, I mean, we'll cover this later, but thankfully, this recent Art Basel event that we did was very much felt like a family like that. But, some artists do like run off to become rock stars and kind of get maybe too in their head about how much money they're making and think they're too cool for school now. And I really, really hate that attitude. I think we should all be like lifting each other up and supporting each other as a community. I don't think it doesn't, benefit anyone to be cutthroat. Like, let's leave that for the Wall Street assholes. We're artists here. Like, let's be kind to each other.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll come back to all of that stuff because,
Totally.
you definitely kind of live by those words, I think. So we'll come back with an example later on. And I think, I mean, I know.
And real quick, some more stuff about my background. Like I was saying, like a lot of it is in concert visuals.
Yeah.
And so after the Dave Matthews Band stuff and the country music stuff, I eventually did come back around full circle to work with 2019, especially. I was pretty much booked on only concert visuals that whole year. And that's something I really love is tightly syncing the music to visuals. And so I did a job for 4 months for Zed, which is probably one of the most fun jobs in my career. And I wish I could show it. I can't actually show but a small part of it, but it's like, I've got this 4-minute long reel of my Zed work that Beeple actually did the initial style frames for, and I took them and animated everything.
Is that the Orbit tour?
No? Yes, it was the Orbit tour. So if you ever go to a Zed show, there's a lot of my work in there, a lot of Beeple's work in there. Yeah, there's one right there actually. That's the one piece he let me release. We had a miscommunication where at first I thought I'd be able to release everything, and I said that up front, but we didn't write a contract, and it didn't ever fully get passed to Zed that's what the deal was. So I didn't get to, So anyway, I've worked with, Beeple on his FITC titles. Dead Mouse.
Cool.
Dead Mouse. I actually got to go to Dead Mouse's house in Toronto thanks to the MoGraph dudes. And I think that was in 2017 or so, and 2018. We went up for 2 days, and then a year later went up for a whole week, which was just a crazy, crazy experience. Because that dude's he's super weird, but he's also took us on an ATV adventure where I nearly killed myself because we're going through the snow and I'd never driven an ATV before, and we're on these little winding paths, and we have to go up and over these giant logs, and I nearly flipped the thing backwards onto myself. Those things are super dangerous, but yeah, we were living on the edge with Dead Mouse and working in his basement, with his giant octagon ring of computers and making concert visuals for him for a week, which was definitely a trip. And I've worked on Katy Perry's her, whatever it was called, Witness Tour. I did the intro to that whole concert. I've done work for Excision, Keith Urban, the 2018 iHeart Music Radio Awards, our iHeart Radio Music Awards, and then more recently, like the 888 trailer. So yeah, those are just some, I guess, career highlights. But yeah, my work's always been very tightly intertwined with music. And some of my favorite jobs have been for relatively unknown musicians who luckily wanted me to do like ambitious full CG music videos. And in general, I love getting I don't love getting buried in over my head, but it's like part of my process for certain things. Like I feel like the jobs where I really accelerate in my career much more. Sorry, I'm just distracted because we're trying to search for the cat. But the jobs where I feel like I've made a big leap forward and that pushed me the hardest are often the ones where I have to get very in over my head and somehow like dig my way out. So like for instance, like this Walk Away music video I did back in 2016. I feel like dude, you're on it with the pulling stuff up.
I am,
but I think that's like. This one is where I felt like I came out as an artist. I'm out of the closet. This was before even the tutorials. This music video was was the very first like full CG animated music video I had to do. Like I said, I did that Dave Matthews Band music video, and there was a lot of CG, but there was also a lot of live action, and I'm used to doing that VFX workflow. This has some VFX in the face, like compositing the face into the helmet. But overall, it was the first big full CG project I'd ever done. And I totally fell in love with that because you get like full creative control. Oh, good. They found the cat. Crisis averted. You get full creative control, and I don't know. I love being a director of photography in 3D. Even though I was like a very clumsy director of photography in real life, like that was not my thing because I love software and I'm not that coordinated. I'm like, I was born to interact with computers, I swear. Though, I mean, you can learn anything, you can train yourself to be a good DP, but it just wasn't my thing, like working on film sets. Like I did it a few times and it was fun, but it's exhausting. And I like having more of that full creative control. And like, there aren't a lot of artists that I've seen that are really good at being one-man bands. And so that's kind of weirdly the specialty I tried to create was being like an uber generalist, like being good at the editing, the color grading, just like the camera movement and all of those things. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. And again, like always very, very much involved with kind of like just the border between the film and music industries, in that, a lot of concert visuals, a lot of music videos. Hey, we got Paul here, the Rusted Pixel. He's one of my absolutely favorite artists. He's got like, definitely look him up. He's got an amazing like stop motion kind of handcrafted style, but he's also a 3D artist. So it's like, it kind of fools the eye into thinking that it's stop motion. But yeah, so, and real quick, the other thing I wanted to like cover a little bit would be my style as an artist, because that's one interesting thing is like a lot of us are moving from client work into this NFT world, and it's not necessarily like a comfortable transition, right? Because we're used to doing jobs for clients. We're used to being kind of told what to do. I feel like lucky in that I've often been given a blank slate and had to figure my way out of it. Like a lot of my clients would be so indie level and not like the typical studio where they've got this like, the studios will have like a pitch deck and mood boards and style frames and this whole like extensive process. But a lot of my clients were just like, honestly, freaking dumbasses that would be like, I don't know what to do. You make it cool. And I'd be like, okay, here we go. I'll try something. But in a way that actually like helped me. So I've always kind of been like, I've always had one foot in the whole Instagram world where all the true artists existed that we saw, over the past like 3 or 4 years at least, really exploding, like CG, style frames and every day is thanks to Beeple. One foot in that world where I am paying attention to my socials, and then one foot in the client world, essentially, where we would actually make money. But now with NFTs, those people that were super invested in Instagram and just being true artists have really exploded. Fuck Render is a great example. There's a bunch of them, but yeah. I wouldn't necessarily, but as far as my style goes, like I was saying, like kind of hard to pin down for me because I'm used to being versatile. I'm used to like just doing whatever the client asks. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I have a specific style, but I'm trying to invent one.
Yeah, we can circle back to that. I mean, one thing that interested me was you were talking about having a blank slate for certain projects. So, where does the inspiration come from then? Because I'm assuming when you say a blank slate, like you would have probably a written brief or anything,
That's a good
and
question.
Rather than assets, you'd have words to go by.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say a lot of the time it's just like writing out a small script for myself as to what I want to see. Like, and a lot of the time it's not like specifically like, it's not like a story so much as just like what I envision, like low shot scraping along the ground, tilting up, like just that kind of like weird, almost like a shot list, or just, and as well as like a general idea. Though a lot of the time my wife Chelsea helps me a ton with coming up with the concept and making it actually good, because she is a writer, and it really helps to have someone that's a writer, on your team, or just to learn about writing yourself and storytelling structure if you're doing these like more full cinematic pieces. A lot of it, like, I mean, for concert visuals, it can be really simple. Like for the Excision piece I did about a year and a half ago, maybe it was like 2 years ago. For that one, Chelsea was like, what if you just do like, some islands with cities on them coming up through the clouds, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And then it kind of just expanded into, part of the process is like, let's look on TurboSquid, which is a 3D stock model site, and just try and find some really cool assets as a playground to begin with. It's like a kit bashing mindset that Beeple talks about a lot. Yeah. But here we kind of like landed on this steampunk vibe, and to make it feel cohesive, so we like found all these neat steampunky things all over TurboSquid, bought them all, and just kind of kit bashed everything together. So nice. It doesn't necessarily start with some elaborate concept. A lot of the time it's more of a process of exploration. Like the Mirror Box series that I've been doing, like all these Mirror Box pieces, that has like a very winding story or like process where it started with, actually I was hired on a job for the Latin Grammys, where they wanted to recreate an infinite mirror room, right? And with some chandeliers. And so I did those style frames and I was like, wow, this is really cool. This actually works in 3D. And I discovered a few things like, oh, maybe, it looks way better when you have bevels on the edges of the geometry because they catch the light and you see the form of the actual mirrors more. Like it's nicer when you, like in CG, you could make it perfect where you see just perfect reflections, but that's not as interesting as actually seeing the geometry of the box itself to an extent, as well as all those infinite reflections. So that was one thing that I kind of discovered. And so that was like the first step. And then from there, I was like, let's take this further and make a tutorial out of it, right? So I made a tutorial where I kind of made it a bit more artful and explored it more and created some animations. Then this random guy in the Republic of Georgia discovered my tutorial and sent me a message and an email. And like, usually I would not respond to it, but we talked back and forth a little bit, enough for me to figure out that it was legit. And this guy was named Dmitry Gagoshidze. It's like just random clients sometimes. And he was creating some real infinite mirror room installations that he wanted essentially previs for. So I did like a set of 10 of these like mirror room animations with, janky people in them, walking around and exploring just to show what it could look like. So that was like taking that further. And then from there, Keith Urban saw, or not Keith Urban himself, but like the dude that hired me who does their kind of visual content, saw, I think, the tutorial as well. And like kind of the progress I'd been making with this weird mirror box land, and, hired me to do that look for Keith Urban. And so it was like this very long progression of evolving this imagery. And then from there, it like made sense to keep doing that in the NFT world, because honestly, it's like it's almost like a partnership with the software where I just put something in there and don't know what to expect necessarily. So it's like almost half AI or half generative, even though it's not AI, but it is unexpected. And then you can like warp things out with weird lenses and distorting the actual mirror box, squishing and stretching it, like, and then I just keep adding on more and more things. It's like, oh, let's use a panoramic camera. What does that look like? That's going to be trippy. Let's make these light hits pulse to the beat, all the kind of things that you keep adding to more and more. And I was lucky in that I was able to explore this through client work, but I would have stopped at some point. And now I'm able as an NFT artist to just dive deeper and deeper into this and keep pushing the boundaries. And every time I think that this is something that where I'm just going to feel tapped out, it's like, okay, I've taken mirror boxes as far as they can go. Every time I think that, I jump in and I like find something new. And maybe that's the process of making art. I don't know. Like that's what I'm in the middle of like discovering, Well,
I mean,
so it's fun.
Yeah, I guess we could delve a bit deeper into your process.
Sure.
Well, the mirror box thing seems to be like you crafting a style. We talked about, you touched on style. Right. You're not sure what it is quite yet because I see.
I'd say my other style is the more cinematic type work. It's just that it takes a lot longer to produce. And lately I've had so many projects and so many collectors approaching me that I've kind of gravitated towards the mirror box work because it kind of ticks all the boxes where it looks extremely complex. It looks unique, like something that I haven't ever seen before. It's like I'm creating a unique visual that's never existed before. And it's also, you can sync it to the music. It kind of fits into that concert visual style. You can make it feel cinematic, like have these long form experiences without it taking months to create. Now, I would love to set aside, 4 or 5 months at some point to like just pick away at a short film. Like that would be amazing. I really, it's been too long since I've watched tutorials and courses to up my skill set. But yeah, that would just be really awesome, but it's hard to do with all of the constant projects and the feeling that you have to constantly output work and like tell collectors that you still exist. You're like, I'm still here, I'm still relevant, I'm still making more pieces. There's like some weird balance there where you don't want to be creating too much and oversaturate the market, but you also don't want to like go into a dark hole for 6 months to where people completely forget about you and then come back out. So it's a really hard one to balance. And I think we're all just kind of figuring this out with the NFT market in general. And as it matures, my hope is that artists will be able to be even more true to themselves and true artists where they can easily go away for 6 months and create some epic magnum opus and come back with like, and then it hopefully sells for as much as it's worth. Because right now, there's a lot of confusion about what is really high quality work, like what has taken the time and what has the craft behind it. And that's not to say that like great work can't be produced quickly, because it totally can. There's tons of examples that like Beeple's a great example of someone who can jam something out in a day that looks pretty amazing.
But it's taken 13 years or so of crafting that style.
Right, that's the whole Picasso
it.
thing. Right, yeah. That's the Picasso thing where it's like, well, he just scribbled something on a napkin in 2 seconds. How could it be worth that much? Well, it's because the process has evolved for that long. And that's kind of how I'm feeling with the mirror boxes. They become easier and easier because I've got all these tricks in my bag that I've invented, essentially. So you kind of feel like a weird inventor when you're creating your own process for an art style. But at the same time, there are, I love doing that cinematic work too. And that just there's a lot more challenges. There's a lot more unknowns with that stuff, where every time you're doing a new project, there's about 1 million different problems to solve that you've never solved before, and 1 million tutorials to look up, and so yeah.
I mean, you're about the details as well, and I think that I see that it's a highly polished end result, and I don't know if there's something that's more kind of, I don't know, pleasurable of doing the mirror box stuff, because it's the kind of faster, immediate. It's that instant gratification thing. Yeah.
But it still holds up as far as my standards go. So that's why I've been going for it. But at some point I'm constantly second guessing myself. I'm like, is this real art? Is this like, am I cheating? Is this, you know what I mean? Like there's always these like imposter syndrome questions that creep in. Like what I should be doing is like, Cornelius Domrich, where I take 2 months to make a single still, and everybody, it's like, I've got my own look, it's pretty stupid to compare yourself to other artists like that. And like Cornelius appreciates me just the same for being able to create cinematic camera movement, or, the specific lighting, or even how fast I work. So like we all have, things that we love about different artists. But often it's not that they're better than, it's just that they're different. Their processes are different. So we kind of look up to each other. But that can also create like false impressions of, or false imposter syndrome feelings that we have to keep in check.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's it. Like it is about probably just doing you kind of thing for the most part, and just kind of focusing on getting what you want to show out there and stuff. So I think that's
totally,
advice for anyone who's kind of probably coming into the space as well, wanting to set their own style up and get out there. So rather than seeing what everyone else is doing and all these what's selling or whatever, it's kind of like, well, is that you? Is that true? So
exactly. You don't want to just be a copycat, but at the same time, it can be really hard to invent a style for yourself that looks unique, because everything's been done before is how it feels. And it's fucking tricky.
Yeah, it's tricky. Yes, absolutely. Yep. I think, there's, you've probably covered it. I think, I mean, I've seen in some of the descriptions on your site that, some pieces would take like months to, and these are probably the more cinematic things rather than, I mean, a mirror box for you, like, obviously, not to, how, what's the typical pipeline or process for that? And like, I mean, I'm not saying it's kind of like minutes or anything like that, because you've got to like get that looking
but I have
clean.
jammed some of these
technical
animations. Yeah. I have actually jammed some of them out within like 3 days, which is fucking crazy. Yeah.
Right.
Like my first Nifty drop took a week start to finish. So,
wow.
And that's like with all the cinematic like movement and the crazy hits to the music and whatnot. What's up, Dave Koss? I've already talked about you a whole bunch. Hey, this is Dave from MoGraph is in here. But yeah, love to see you guys in here.
That was the Infinite Reflections drop, wasn't it?
Yes, that was that first Nifty drop. Yep.
Oh, there we go. We'll show that while we're talking about it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean the process, like for that first one on the left, like was literally like, let's create a mirror box with some different structure. Like let's try a what was it called, a platonic object, but then make sure the bevels are there so that you can see the edges and how the reflections catch. And in the middle, there's just a chandelier that's literally I think it's scaling up towards the camera, and it's just kind of more of a mesmerizing animation where I'm just rotating the camera around the chandelier, but I've got a fisheye lens on it. So it creates this like interesting, effect essentially, and looks distorted. The one that's like auto playing right now was a bit more complex. And I actually, that one, Incandescent Multiverse. So that one, I actually had a kind of a lighting rig already set up from that job I mentioned earlier for the guy in the Republic of Georgia, where it's using fields to, just control the intensity of the lights and create like random kind of animation with a random field and whatnot. But it, just sticking that in a very simple mirror box, like it's literally like just extruded. It's like you take a cube, you extrude it a couple times, and often you're done, and it looks really amazing.
Well, this is
like
the thing.
With like
You've shared the whole process in a tutorial.
I have. I created a tutorial. I mean, there's a bunch of things I've stacked onto that since that make it even like more wild and insane. And I haven't seen anyone that's like tried to compete with me using my own method yet.
Right.
So it still feels like my own. I think Chris Bier did a thing with, he actually used that tutorial and the techniques for a title sequence for Elastic, that was like really cool to see, cool. Because, that's very high end stuff. And I still haven't even ever worked for Elastic, though they tried to get me to work for them a couple times. So it didn't work out, but yeah. And now I never will, because NFTs, bro.
I think you're still doing client work, aren't you? You're still doing.
No, I am not. I stopped in February. Yeah. So, yeah, I tried to do his ed job. Like, he's literally my favorite client, and I tried to do his ed job. And after a week, I bailed. I was like, sorry, Gabe, NFTs are too distracting. Also, they totally changed the concept on me, and I just lost the enthusiasm and momentum. And I'm making more from Ash going up. Like, I'm making 10 times more from Ash going up than I will on this entire job. Like, what am I doing now? You know, it's weird. Right. It's fucking weird. Yeah. Well, investing is like a huge part of this world too, you know?
Yeah. I'd love to come back to that at some point. Yeah. We'll talk about that. So
let's get back to like the training stuff though, because we still haven't like talked about the School of Motion course, and like that kind of leads into like how I got into NFTs to begin with.
Well, I mean, you have you've been doing both free and paid content for a long time, as you've mentioned.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess like what led you to first, have the desire to share your knowledge with others?
That's what I was trying to say earlier, is like I didn't necessarily have the desire, or it didn't ever come into my head that I should do my own tutorials. Or if it did, it felt like too big of a hurdle to cross. It was literally EJ coming up to me and being like, dude, you know Octane so well, you got to make a tutorial. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And that's kind of how it happens for a lot of people. Like, I've said that same thing to other, artists that I love, where I literally want to pick their brain and steal what they know. So I'm like, you got to make a course, bro. It's going to go great. You're going to sell the shit out of it.
Dude, I said that
just
to
like
you about,
selfishly. Yeah.
I said that to you about Lights Camera Render on School of Motion. I was like, I get to pick, I get to delve into David's brain now and just I get all the goods.
That's what I love. Like, yeah, watching tutorials for me has always been like semi-addictive, and something that I'm actually feel like I've been missing out on lately, because I just haven't gotten back to training. It's like, it's a huge important. It's like practicing. If you're a musician, you fucking practice, and like practice comes through creating the actual art for sure. But that's only half the coin. I think the other half of the coin is like investigating new techniques. Stuff like that. But yeah, I had one more thought, but now I'm forgetting what that actually was. But I think, like I said, just EJ coming up and approaching me to do that. But I think the other half of that was that because I've always been such a big fanboy over these tutorial gods like Andrew Kramer and Nick Campbell, and they really helped me get to where I am. Like, without them, none of us would know what we know. Like, there's only so far you can get by picking away at things and just like trying to reinvent the wheel and just tinkering. I'm not that much of a tinkerer. Like, I'm becoming more that way through the art that I'm creating, and creating my own processes and my own techniques. But there's still got to be that foundation of knowledge, which comes through all of this sharing on the internet. And that's why one reason I love our 3D motion community is that it's always been extremely open about sharing information. Nobody, it's not like the traditional VFX world or film world where people hoard techniques. It doesn't have this cutthroat mentality. It's always felt like there's been more than enough work. And now there's even more work, because NFTs have blown the door off a completely new revenue stream that so many of us can tap into. So yeah, I don't remember where I was going with that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the stuff at EJ, I guess, led to School of Motion.
Oh, the School of Motion, that's true.
That's where he is now, and brought you on board for this epic course on
exactly. So
lighting
on my
camera
site,
techniques. So
I'll just shout out this thing. So my site, arievvisuals.com/tutorials, you can find all of my free tutorials. First from EJ's class, as we mentioned, but then for other sites, like, the paid sites, like the Grayscale Gorilla course was actually the first legit course I made, which is just like a 5-hour intro to Octane. It's called Getting Started with Octane there. Though I think I personally called it Octane Speedrun, which I think is way catchier, but
you did
Getting Started with Octane.
Yeah. And this is the Infinite Mirror Rooms for anyone who wants to check that one out.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Just what we were talking about. So come on to David's site and just click on tutorials, and you've got a whole load of stuff here.
A lot of stuff. And I've also got like that resources page too, where, I obsessively, like I said, collect tutorials in my head, like some kind of freaky database. And so if you click on that one, it's like an obsessive list of all of the best Octane tutorials that I've ever seen throughout my entire career. I've actually neglected it lately, probably because of NFTs. So I got to like update that list. I've got a whole bunch of new stuff to add on to it, and like things that need to get rejiggered. There's like broken links in there. I know like some people like took their content down, and so some links are broken. And that's sad, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but okay, I made the cut too.
But in general, like nobody else has made this like extensive list of Octane tutorials. So,
no,
at first I just had it in a, thank you. Yeah. At first I just had it in like a Google Doc. Then I was like, wait, what if I integrate it into my site? And that's another thing that I've discovered through my career is that the more you the more you give back to the community, that returns tenfold. So like one of the reasons my site blew up was literally just sharing all of that information, and so there's just no need to be ultra competitive or guarded about the information. If anything, it just like will benefit your career more so by sharing and by like lifting other artists up and highlighting other people.
Absolutely. And I was looking at down the list there, and there's a lot of really successful NFT artists on that list there. You've got, obviously there's
right. Yeah. They're now successful NFT artists. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like what we were saying earlier, like EJ kind of wrote me into this School of Motion course, and that took all of 2020 for me to complete. So literally I worked on it for a whole year, and I'd say it's the longest and hardest I've ever worked on any project. And it's actually like the perfect class for NFT artists doing 3D art because it's all geared towards the soft skills of composition, lighting, and camera movement, as well as like a side of world building and texturing, just definitely some technical stuff weaved in there, but it's like half technical and process and half theory. So there's a lot of lessons that are just pure theory, like on color theory, lighting theory, composition, tons of stuff on camera movement where we're just analyzing films and looking at how the shots are created, and essentially categorizing and naming what types of shots these are so that we all have a common language to use. But yeah, and like the whole course was actually geared towards the final lesson, which is where the students create their own short film. And that's like, to me, that's like the best thing you can do in 3D is just create your own film, and that, so I actually did go through the whole process and created half a short film. I didn't ever get to finish it, but I created half a short film. And that's what I released and named Love in the Time of Space Invaders. And that was my first huge NFT sale of 40 ETH that 888 bought back in February. So that's like really what it was interesting how School of Motion really allowed me to explore my own artistic style more. And then from there, like led right into NFTs.
This is the one. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, you got into Maker's Place and
so I'll tell that story. So how I got into NFTs. So I'm pretty good friends with people, as are, Dave, who's here, and Dave and Matt, the mograph.com guys. And the three of us, along with EJ, who I've mentioned a bunch, have had like a text chain going for years. But when this crypto art stuff began to come out, we were all really, really skeptical at first. We were just like, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. Paying for a digital file. Like none of us, we didn't get it for probably the first few weeks. We were just trash talking NFTs, right? We didn't know what we were doing. And I think a lot of people have that gut reaction. Like there's so many people like, I can just right click and save as, but then, Beeple went to do his first drop in October and he made over 120K from it. And all of us were floored. We were like, holy shit. Like, I mean, we didn't think we could do that. Like that was Beeple doing Beeple, but it was pretty amazing to see. And that pretty much shut us up and got us to take it more seriously. And then we started doing our own research into like what NFTs actually are. And we tried to like really wrap our heads around digital ownership and all of, and now there's even more that we understand, like utility of tokens, like, the kind of like access to future drops and clubs these things can get you into, this whole like ecosystem, digital ecosystem and marketplaces that are being built, like the addictiveness of just, selling something and it's immediately at that other person in their wallet. Like you don't have to, buy a piece of art, hold it for 10 years, sell it, and then ship it to the person, make sure it doesn't get damaged. No, it's just a digital file. So like for people like us that are natively digital, it actually makes a freakish amount of sense. And it'll make even more sense to people in the younger generation that, are used to buying like skins for video games, right? There's like this whole community of like Minecraft and Fortnite and Roblox and all these games where they're used to this digital currency, essentially. Like they're being primed to be crypto nerds.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like let's fast forward a few months, like after October 2020, Beeple's first drop, then he had his 2020 collection in December. So it's like we're talking like a year ago today. All this shit's happened within a year. And all of us in our text chain were like very on the fence about purchasing one. We're like, should we do it? Should we not? And there's this moment that I very clearly remember where I went down to the basement where my wife Chelsea was doing some crafty stuff to ask her if I should buy this piece of people's artwork for almost $1,000. I was like, it's a fucking $1,000. This is crazy. And I had to like awkwardly explain to her what the hell it was. But she was surprisingly supportive and like for it. And she was like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, we support our friend by buying his artwork and maybe we're out $1,000. So that sold me on it. And of course, in retrospect, I wish I'd bought like 50 of those damn things, you know?
Right.
It's just like, we were all, of course, shocked by the meteoric rise of the Beeple, both in price and like, you know, his just like, he's obviously now reached just insane levels of fame. And, you know, I've still got my Into the Ether piece today, which I'm just going to hold for pretty much forever. I don't know. We'll see. But that also started the bug of me collecting work from other artists. So actually I got, what's up?
No, yeah, definitely. I was going to just say, like, you know, what's like the favorite, you know, your favorite piece that you've collected so far? Because you obviously got a few.
I've got a lot. I mean, there are so many pieces that I wish I could have collected. We actually, so my friend Alex Marks, who he does these extremely intricately detailed renders of like, there's one of Beethoven and there's another of Michael Jackson. And the Beethoven one was the first one he listed on Foundation. And I actually like very early on got into a bidding war. This is after my big drop, so I had some cash to play with. But Chelsea and I just went fucking crazy at first, like buying everyone's art, thinking that, you know, now that we made this much money, it's going to happen just like that every time. So let's just buy everyone's artwork. Like, that was also a mistake. But I mean, I love the idea of giving back to artists, giving back, like buying, like helping out after you've made a big sale, like buying some people's artwork. It's great. At the same time, we do have finances to like be aware of. Like, taxes are going to be a massive, massive thing. You know, like it's all kind of scary. Like, you can pretty easily fuck yourself over if you go on too big of a shopping spree, you know? Right. So that's kind of like where we eventually, like at some point started to get into where we're like, okay, we're buying way too much. But anyway, so this piece by Alex Marks, he spent probably 1,200 hours on it. Just like in the most intricate detail, like Cornelius Dommerich, placing individual instruments that make up the entire face. So I definitely like encourage anyone that's listening to go look up Alex, because he's a badass artist. He's also really, really good at syncing visuals to music. So we do. Yeah, you do. Yeah. So we got into a bidding war actually on that one with, we didn't know at the time, it was someone named X-Ray, and it went up to like $30,000 before I ran out of ETH and I couldn't bid higher. But we were like prepared to spend that much money on that piece because it's so fucking good. It's like, it's a goddamn masterpiece. But anyway, X-Ray actually went on to become one of my biggest collectors. So, you know,
I was going to say that rings a bell. Yeah. Because I was looking through some of the work.
He's a cool dude. Yeah.
Did he put down on the render farm? I don't know who's got that. I don't, there's a few
X-Ray
other bits.
Actually, that's my other collector, Triple X, that got that. But X-Ray got actually the Walk Away music video, as well as a bunch of other things.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Right.
Yeah.
So that's it. We were showing Walk Away earlier, you know, and you know, if we come over to Maker's Place, like we can see that, you know, the fruits of your labor are actually now kind of up here on the blockchain, and you know, and a lot of you know, a lot of the content from the School of Motion course that you created and spent a whole year kind of crafting is kind of found its way onto here as well.
Well, that's the nice thing is I have this massive backlog of pieces. Yeah. Some of them like were just Instagram experiments that I, you know, like if you scroll up that one that's called Paper Cities, that one, you know, was several like experiments with Vectron and displacement and whatnot. But I just strung all the clips together and made a little short film out of it with music. And so that's what with all of my pieces, I've made sure every single one, except for the Playing Arts one, weirdly, because that one wasn't allowed to have music, but every single one of my pieces has sound design or music, because it's like, if you're going to release an NFT, you should do it, you know, they're all animated for me. I don't know. You can create whatever rules for yourself as an artist as you want, but mine are, it's got to be animated and it's got to have music and sound design. So that way it's more of a fully fleshed out experience. So I don't know. That's just me. I kind of like put these constraints on myself, I guess.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But yeah,
I guess it feels more digital.
What's that?
I guess it feels more like a rounded digital experience then, like.
Yeah, it's like why, if NFTs could be all these things and they could have the extra production value of sound design and music, why wouldn't you? I mean, in the case of Pac, it makes some sense because it kind of goes with the black and white stripped down over, minimalistic aesthetic to not have music on his pieces. But some pieces, it's like, I'm seeing this really cool visual and why am I not hearing anything that supports the visuals? It's like, we're used to seeing films. We're used to having these more fully fleshed out experiences. So yeah, while it does cost money to either buy a music track on Premium Beat for the pro license or hire a sound designer and do a split with them, I think personally it's worth it to make sure that the quality of your work is at the highest level it can be, and that people are getting the full experience of your work.
What proportion of your pieces are you actually hiring a sound designer for then? And
I'd say at least a third. Yeah, my buddy Abel Okugawa, who we'll talk about later, but yeah, I'd say at least a third. And I do 30% with him. And some, like for Ivan Torrent, who, like, we'll get to this later, but that piece that I sold, Immortalis, on Super Rare for 40 ETH, that one I did a 50-50 split with him because he came up with the concept. He hired me on the job originally, and like, it was a really awesome collab between the two of us. And he's an extremely, extremely well-known composer and musician, So like his audio brought so much to that piece that, for that I wanted to do a 50-50 split. That's not, saying anything against Abel. It's just that I know that for that one, he spent years crafting that music, like creating a whole album. And I mean, not that song specifically necessarily. I don't know how much time it took him, but like, like Abel's only got like a day or two, so it's kind of like this weird calculus in your head, like, oh, how much time are we spending? At the same time, we don't want to completely couple time equals money because,
right.
Like we said, like Abel spent his whole life getting amazingly good at creating, composing music and doing sound design. So it's like, it's sometimes difficult to figure out what the split should be without hurting anybody's feelings. But so far, so good. Nobody's been mad at me.
Oh, right. And how did the collab with Abel come about in the first place?
So he is someone that I worked with back at Filament Productions, which is that company that I got my start doing all the stuff with Dave Matthews Band.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. That's the amazing thing is like about NFTs is that we can collab with other artists. Like I can call my friend from years and years ago who I don't get to talk to enough anymore. And like, we didn't get to work together when I went freelance because every client would want a different team, and every studio has their own people and you're kind of being patched in versus there's no like opportunity for me to hire Abel. But now that, we're doing NFTs, we can hire each other and just collab and do splits. And there's so many more opportunities and interesting ways we can combine artistic styles. So that's one of the most exciting things about NFTs to me personally.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, so back to the story of how I got into all of this mess. So like I said, I kind of, after buying Into the Ether, that kind of started the bug for me of collecting work from other artists. And I actually got so addicted to collecting not too long after that, because I wanted to immerse myself in NFTs. And I couldn't at the time actually jump into releasing my own NFTs yet because I was still finishing up that School of Motion course. Mm-hmm. So after about a month or two, I'd actually driven us pretty far into debt. But thankfully, like probably $20,000 or more into debt. Like I was maxing out my credit cards like an idiot. But I was like just trying to go all in. I was trying to immerse myself into this thing. So thankfully, I got lucky on one of Nifty's drawings for this Resnier Andreas piece. And I won the number 1 out of 3 edition and immediately flipped it for a $15,000 profit.
Nice.
So that was like my first big win. I was like, holy shit, we just made $15,000. Like, usually that would be the amount of money I'd make in a month. Right. Yeah. And it was bought by Pablo Fraile, who's one of the biggest collectors out there. But yeah, collecting can definitely play into that like gambling mindset and be very unhealthy if you don't keep it in check. And it's also just as easy to lose money in this space by collecting as it is to gain money. And I've definitely had my fair share of massive losses at this point as well. as well as big wins. So it's like, hopefully like it all comes out in the wash and overall, you're making profit, but there are definitely ways you can fuck yourself over.
Yeah. You mean you're holding on to some sort of, I guess, prized possessions, prized NFTs. That's, I guess at the back of your mind, like, I've got this if all else fails, kind of thing. Obviously,
I've got the Beeple, I've got the ape.
Right.
If all else fails.
So any other blue chip stuff that you're into?
Well, yeah, let's keep going on this track about just because like I've still got more to this story.
Yeah.
Once I was finally ready to commit and I was done with my school of motion class, the first thing to do was just, get into the platforms. Right. Yeah. So, I got into Foundation first, which I think most of us do. And this was thanks to the kindness of Anthony Quinton, who's Johnny Quinton's, or as many people know, MBSJQ's brother. But he's also a great artist in his own right and such a nice dude. So yeah, I only ever had to like beg awkwardly once for a Foundation invite, which was a blessing because, I know a lot of people struggled to get into Foundation. And like for like a couple months there, it was like a fucking meme that like, can I get a Foundation invite? Because people would be everybody was so like bold about it, like I want that money, I want that Foundation, just weird and desperate and not a good look. But I understand it, like,
you started a gold rush. Whole group, didn't you, to kind of help us like get into it?
Yeah. I started this group called Get NFT, and actually that was another thing where it's like I didn't have the idea to do it myself, but one student from my class, Renee Suss, approached me and was like, David, we should make an NFT group. And I'm like, okay. So like we made a Facebook group and I just invited all of the artists that I know and love, and legitimized it. And then, by doing that, and then we created a pretty cool community, I think. I mean, shit got pretty crazy, like, and a bit overwhelming, like to manage a group like that, it becomes a full-time job. So we've kind of just let it be its own little Facebook thing. But for a while we did have a really cool project for, Tim Kang, illustrator, collaborating with him on Seven's, grants.art.
Yeah.
We did this distorted reality exhibition where we created this theme. We like voted on it, and everyone liked the distorted reality idea the best. Tim actually just invited me to like bring our artistic community into this, to like do a big project for his platform. He had already done like a couple that were just like, it's such a philanthropic platform because there's no gas fees. He covers all of that himself. And he's just trying to highlight artists that are unseen. So I really love his mission, and he collaborates with really good people. And he's just such a nice dude. He's one of my other best collectors for sure. He's actually who gave me my ape, hilariously, because I got the ape for free because immediately after the mint of apes, right? I go on Twitter and I bitch about how I miss everything. I don't know how you guys are finding out about these things, but I fucking miss the apes. And like, of course in my mind it was too late, and it was not too late. But Tim was like, hey dude, I don't want to see you missing out. Like I want everybody to feel included, and you're awesome. So just pick from my collection. I've got like 100 of these things. And I'm like, okay. So he was like, not these ones because they're more rare. I didn't even know how to I didn't even know about the rarity. I didn't know how to track like any of that at the time. I mean, I don't even know if like Rarity Tools was out or the Rarity Sniper or any of those things. But at the time I was like, well, this one's got a halo and that goes with my Jesus look. So let's do it. And like I owe that dude pretty much everything. He's fucking amazing. But yeah, so best gift ever. And actually the funny thing is, because it was a gift, it's I don't know the number. I don't know the number off the top of my head because I guess I'm not that big of a nerd about it or something. But
no worries.
But the fact that it was a gift meant that I felt like I needed to hold it. And I kept being like, Chelsea, it's at like $8,000. Should I sell it? She was like, no, just keep holding it. I'm like, okay, you're right. I can't sell it. It's a gift. So like eventually it got beyond that threshold where I'm like, oh shit, this is like the blue chip other than CryptoPunks. I'm not selling this shit, So like now it's in like my, hardware wallet. Like I'm not selling that thing for, maybe a year or two. Who knows? Like we'll see what it does. There's going to be a coin in January. Like I'm going to hold out for all that stuff. But yeah, so that was an aside. Anyway, so first I got into Foundation. Back to the story.
Yeah, no, I mean, and on Foundation, like you haven't minted there yet, have you? I just see that
I
you've
didn't.
collected
I decided not to because, yeah, I've collected a fair number of pieces on there. Yeah.
Right.
And actually, we've got Everfresh in here listening, and he's one of the first people I collected from because he's got this fucking amazing 3D style that looks
Amazing
like
style. I'm gonna find
like
the piece
cell,
as well.
yeah, please do. It looks like cell animated work. It's like liquid and gooey, and I have no idea how he does it. I mean, I know he's got some talks on Cineversity about it, but it's just I've never seen anyone using Cinema 4D that way to make it look like it's cell animation. And it just does add an extra dimension to the work and makes it stand out and look so unique. So, I wish him nothing but further success because he's, I think, like one of the most underappreciated artists in this space.
I would love to show it to you, but Foundation doesn't want to load. So
Foundation's being a jerk.
Does. It did. Yeah, Foundation's just not playing. But there we go.
There you go. Yeah, like so that's one of the two that I bought from him. But yeah, that was part of my initial spree. After I made that first big sale, we were just like, we're rich. Let's buy everybody else's art. You know. Anyway, so I tried applying for Maker's Place, Super Rare, and Nifty. I wanted to get into Maker's Place because I saw that Foundation was very saturated, right? And it's like there wasn't enough exclusivity on that platform, if that makes sense, at the time. I mean, there's still not. It's still very, very open, and it's hard. It's still hard to figure out like whether you're going to be better off at Maker's Place or Foundation, because Foundation, they've got way more sales volume, like $9 million a month kind of thing. Maker's Place has gone downhill. It's at like 300,000 per month, like very, very low now. At the time, they were more neck and neck, you know. And with Maker's Place, there was the added benefit of the fact that there was a very small number of creators, so it felt like more of an exclusive platform, and everybody wants this like exclusivity. And there's like sometimes that's one thing I don't love about the NFT space or the art world in general, and is that kind of elitist mentality. Or but in the VIP, like here's the VIP area of this, you know, like it's all VIP, and to me that creates like a culture of exclusion. At the same time, we do need to differentiate between artists that are extremely experienced and amazing and that deserve to be making these massive sales, and artists that are still, you know, starting out or somewhere in the intermediate zone or whatever it is. And it's like, that's all very, very subjective. And a lot of the time it's just because collectors hype up an artist randomly, and it's, or because there's more of a backstory that you don't know about. Like maybe this artist is like a traditional artist, like Urs Fischer. The first time I saw his stuff, I'm like, what the fuck are these intersecting stupid objects? Like, why is this selling for $100,000? It's like, oh, because he's like a traditional artist that has made a massive career and success for himself, and that's why everyone's buying into it, you know. So there's like a reason, but you know, you have to do more research and dig further.
Yeah, well, it's like Damien Hirst coming into NFTs.
Exactly, you know? exactly. So yeah, I applied to all the things, and I made sure to create a fancy video that had me on camera with a nice lighting setup from School of Motion that went through all of my work. So that definitely helped me get into platforms. But for Maker's Place, I really like Maker's Place doesn't require a video, right? But I really got in through the back door well before they looked at my application. And that's because I was collecting a bunch of work from that platform too in January and February, like I said. And so they approached me as if I was a collector, asking like how they could make my collecting experience better. And I responded with some suggestions like, well, your search function is completely broken, which they knew. But also like just letting them know that I'm kind of uniquely positioned because I know a ton of great 3D artists. So I'm collecting work from them, and these guys are my friends. And also, hey, I'm a creator too, and here's my site. And so very quickly they responded and just upgraded my account to a creator account. So it was a complete backdoor, like without having to go through the whole process, which I still feel extremely lucky for, especially because I got right in around when 888 began collecting shitloads of work. Mm-hmm. And for others, it took them like way more than a month or even two to get fully approved, because there was this like very annoying process of getting verified even after you'd been accepted that could take several weeks. So it's just, you know, a lot of my friends were just pulling their hair out, and, you know, and it was just like, oh, fuck. I felt guilty because I got in so quickly. But anyway, I dropped the 3 pieces I'd created, you know, solo from my School of Motion class. And within a few hours, 888 had scooped up the one that I accidentally listed for 10 ETH. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, what's my price? All right, let's go big, 10 ETH. And like, he went for it. because I didn't even understand how listing worked. And I didn't realize that if I listed it for 10 ETH, he could just buy it for 10 ETH and then it was his. It wasn't like a bidding
auction
thing.
Yeah.
But the craziest thing is that one he scooped up, and the other two he placed even higher bids on for like $30,000, like $35,000, for those pieces. So, very quickly I'd made like $60,000, and I was just in absolute shock. And then, I really owe it to him for kicking off my NFT career and helping to set a very high like floor price for me. Like, it may have not been the most realistic floor price. Like, I had to kind of, at some point he moves on to other artists, he like blesses an artist and then moves on. Like, I even had this conversation with him where I'm like, dude, I've got a new piece up. And he's like, I like to, just collect from one artist a bit and then move on to the next. And like, basically like, he's like kind of seeing if I can make it on my own without his help. So at that point I had to like find other collectors, and like, my sales were, went down for a bit because of that, because he often sets very unrealistic expectations by buying things for shitloads more than they're potentially worth. Right. But yeah, Chelsea and I were just like so insanely grateful. And the night we made that like $60,000, those 3 pieces sold, he reached out to us, and I showed him the short film that I had in my pocket, the Love in the Time of Space Invaders. And even though it was only halfway done, he absolutely needed it. He like fell in love with it. He had to have it because it lives in the same cyberpunk universe as the rest of the pieces that he just bought. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And I was like, how much do you want it for? And he goes, oh, buddy, no, I don't negotiate with artists. You name a price, which is obviously like a terrifying thing for any artist. But I just went for it, and I was like, okay, 40 ETH, just like, I thought I was just crazy. He was like, okay, great.
No way. Wow.
Yeah. And so, I count myself extremely lucky because I know it's very rare to explode out of the gates like that, and the advice I give most artists is just to slowly work it up, stay active in the space, even when it feels like nothing's happening. There are like slumps and there are dips in the space. June and July was not good for all of us. Everyone thought NFTs were dead. And then, gradually like raise your floor prices as you become more well-known in the space, if that's possible. But yeah, I managed to skip that whole process, and I'm forever grateful for that, but it's still, every time I release a piece, it feels like a struggle. Even now, it's like, there's the constant voice in the back of your head that it's not going to sell out. It's not going to sell for much. And like, when you think it's not going to sell for much, then usually you get a massive sale. And when you think I'm going to sell out, it doesn't. There have been many times, like there was a drop from Maker's Place in June or July, I think it was June, where I only sold 1 edition out of 10 for one of my pieces. And I was like, what the fuck do I do now? And none of the rest were selling. So I just had these 9 pieces sitting on there. And this was like an official Maker's Place drop. This is like their sanctioned like front page banner thing. And it didn't sell very well because the market was so dead at the time. And I hadn't anticipated that, oh shit, like even, I'd seen other people doing editions of 20 and 30 for their official Maker's Place drops and not fully selling out. They'd sell like 10 or 15. So I was like, okay, I'll go with 10. And that only sold 1. And I was like, what the fuck? So I ended up just gifting the other 9 to my top collectors. I went and figured out who the people that bought the most from me were and just sent them gifts, because that's like much better to do than burning, is just reward your collectors,
Yeah. Interesting.
And then, as for super rare, I applied in March, and I think I got in around May, which again, I feel very fortunate for because many other artists have been, waiting for months and months and months. And I didn't do my actual super rare Genesis though until October, well after my first Nifty drop, because all the new pieces I've been creating in the Mirror Box series have way too much like high frequency detail to fit within the 50 megabyte limit for super rare. So I couldn't release them because they just end up looking like compressed garbage on the site,
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, like how you target platforms, because there's limitations on what you can actually put there and the length of, you can't put a
That's why I like Maker's Place, because, they allow up to 200 megabytes and then Nifty allows up to 300 megabytes, which is enough for almost anything,
Right.
Especially with like, I use After Codex. I don't know if you know that plugin for, it's for either After Effects or Premiere. I use the Premiere one, but it does usually a much better job at compressing than the default. So I definitely like look into that for if you're trying to like pack your files in and get the most quality out of them for 50 megs. But yeah, it's pretty ridiculous to me that the premium one-of-one platform doesn't allow over 50 megabytes. And I called Super Rare out on Twitter about it, but their response was just like, sorry, we're working on it.
We'll get back to you.
somebody reached out with there's this crazy thing. I can't remember what it's called, but it allows you to package like gigabyte files if you want as downloadable links essentially. But like still, if the main file that's on the blockchain that's playing on Super Rare is compressed, that's going to look stupid. The collector's going to have a piece of shit in their in the wallet. Collection. That's the NFT. Like, you can maybe, like, it's cool if you have like a high quality 1080, like HD file, and you want to give them the 4K file to download as well. But ultimately, I think these things should be playable. Like, it should be like YouTube, where it's like, how high do you want to up-res it? Like, let's go 4K. Oh shit, I'm on mobile. Let's go to just 480p or something. Right. Like, it should be very obvious. Like the innovations, they're not innovations. They already are industry standards, and we're kind of like left without those. And they're frustrating things. Like if you release a piece, I actually did a test where I had a piece. It's called Meta Iris, and it's like 1920 by 800. So it's that 2:3:5 cinematic aspect ratio, right? And I dropped it. And of course, like on Maker's Place and all these platforms, if you drop a piece that's super wide, it looks extremely tiny on the page, on the collection page. Yeah. So it's just like, it feels like a holdover from Instagram to me. It's like, why are we still stuck in this mindset and limited by the technology? So I dropped that piece and it sold maybe 1 or 2 editions out of 5. Right.
Yeah.
Not good. And I think I gifted the last 2 or something like that, and I like reached out to my collector that had bought the first 2. And I think I asked if it was cool if I gifted them. NorCal guy. Yeah. He's awesome. So that was kind of a fail. But then with the second piece that was very similar, it's called something Rays. I've got very complex names for all my pieces, so I don't remember them.
It's lenticular rays.
Yeah, yes. Lenticular rays. So that one was originally on its side, horizontal, right? Same aspect ratio. And I was like, what if this thing's abstract? What if I flip it vertically? And I did. And then I dropped it on the site and it appears massive, right? Yeah. Look at how big that thing is. So you can actually see it. And it sold out in like 3 minutes. So I was like, okay, test accomplished. Like, now we know definitively, collectors are noticing this too, and they don't want these dinky looking pieces on their collection page. So like, really how it's displayed on the platform matters a ton too. And it's frustrating to be limited by the technology in that way. But whatever, there are constraints. We work within the constraints. We make art that's as good as it could possibly be within those constraints. And maybe like we also push against those and be like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to make the art that I want to make, like at this cinematic aspect ratio, and somebody's going to like it, hopefully. And that was kind of true with Immortalis. Like, that one's a pretty wide aspect ratio, and that's my biggest sale to date. That
was the Super Rare Genesis, right?
Yeah, that one was also for 40 ETH, but ETH was worth twice as much as when I made that first 40 ETH sale. And really, as artists, we need to value our pieces in fiat, not ETH, because ETH goes up and down, and it doesn't make sense that if ETH suddenly doubles, all of our artwork is worth twice as much. That doesn't make sense. Our artwork should be valued in fiat. And it's like, people wanted it both ways, where, if ETH was going up, they wanted to keep their prices the same. And if ETH is plummeting, everyone's like, oh no, I need to raise my price. So it's like, you can't have it both ways. You need to think of your work valued in US dollars. So Immortalis is like my biggest sale, and it's actually 2 times higher than the Love in the Time of Space Invaders, which was, I made $65K at the time on that one. Immortalis was like $140K at the time. So yeah.
Wow. And these, I mean, yeah, there's, I think, what's your favorite platform then? Because you've got Nifty as well. We can come
Nifty
back to
might be my favorite
last night, and
I think Nifty's my favorite right now. Nifty and Super Rare are probably the ones I'm going to bounce back and forth between. There's also a platform that I just did a drop for, which is really exciting. It's a Chinese, like the people who created it are Chinese, and so they've got more of the Chinese audience, but it's called TR Lab, just trlab.com. And I love them because, I brought Min Shi on for her latest drop, and we actually just had a podcast thing this morning, an AMA. But you can see they put a lot of effort into curation. Like they've got Nest Graphics, Blake Catherine, and some other really interesting pieces like Ash Thorpe. Like they're and each one like has a whole artist page. Like if you click on my artist page at the top, it's got like a whole bio. Yeah, if you just click on that artwork itself, like there's a lot of effort that they put in to making it look really nice. And
cool. I mean, one thing I don't like about like Super, for example, like they have the title for this. It's all kind of wrapped, that's not how you write it.
It's like, what the fuck is that? I asked them specifically about that. I was like, why is it displayed Immortal is? And they're like, sorry, can't do anything about it. Like, come on, guys. Like, seriously, you're the number one of one platform. Get your shit together a little bit. Change the flow of the page. Like this is kind of like they've got it kind of right. And that one too, if you click on my artist name, they've got like a whole, I think that'll get you to it. They've got like a whole bio for me. A lot of the work that I've done in the past. They've got like little GIFs and like there's a lot of effort they're putting into this quote.
Like a mini website for you almost. Yeah,
it is. There's a presentation that's really nice. And it does get me excited for like, they're kind of a slower growing platform. Like I sold out about half of the pieces. It was also for charity. So it was a larger edition than they've done before. It was an edition of 77 and I sold about 30. I sold 43, I think. So not terrible, but not sold out, but they're just going to leave it there because they expect their platform to continue growing and people might continue purchasing. If they want a piece of mine, that's the place to go right now for the cheapest of my work.
There we go.
But yeah, I'm excited about this platform. And like you said about, this is kind of a tangent, but NFT websites, you should look into Origin Protocol because that's their whole thing. They did their first big drop was with Blau and he made like a $10 million sale, right? But the idea is that they build a website around an artist. And it's like, it's I forget what I was going to say, but they allowed me to do a trial run of their whole system and like kind of just put me in front of the software without telling me anything, just like to see how I would interact with it. And if I would figure it out, if it was intuitive enough, because they're still working on it. They're trying to democratize it and make it so that more artists, it's not just Blau level people, but like, and not super beginners. Like it's not targeted to super beginners, but people that have made somewhat of a name for themselves, that have a community, have these kind of like collectors and fans that will flock to wherever you tell them to go to, essentially. Just like some artists can do OpenSea drops and make a fuckload of money just because, of their own marketing skills on Twitter and their own following. So that's kind of the idea, so I would describe it as Squarespace for NFTs. Where you literally get to customize your own website. You can even customize the smart contract, and it's kind of templatized where you don't have to be a genius coder to make changes. And that's really exciting to me. And the other really amazing thing is that they only take 7% of the sale. And if you want, there's also an option that will be you take the entire profits of the sale, all of it, 100%, except 15% is in their Origin Protocol token. So, and then once you get that token, you have to hold it for some amount of time. I think it might be 6 months. So it's basically like staking a token. But for lots of people that are into crypto, that's really exciting because if you think that this company is going to do well, that they're going to, become really popular, then you expect the token to go up in value. And so that means you're essentially getting 100% of your sale. And, you're taking a bit more of a risk perhaps in like getting that 15% as a token, but, as people that are crypto native will be perfectly comfortable with that. So it's some cool options and I'm excited for that for sure.
That's really cool. It gives you another option. For example, like if you were to, in the future, like put out a collection, you've got, obviously there was OpenSea is like one of those obvious options, but you've got Foundation now that offers that. So maybe that's somewhere where you could go, but you could build a whole website on Origin and then have your own kind of collection here for.
Absolutely. And you can do things like have countdowns for, that are on the site. Like it looks extremely, extremely professional. So future is going to be interesting. I mean, like it'd still be a toss up between, do I want to go to a platform? Because the platforms kind of create advertising for you. You know, if you've got a big drop, they'll put it out on their Instagram and their Twitter, and they'll promote you, as well as just blasting it out to their newsletter. Like if you release almost anything on Nifty nowadays, you're going to sell out. Like there's almost no question about it. They've only got like a couple artists per day, maybe one artist per day. And, you know, there's a lot of collectors on there that are rabid for, you know, the pieces. And so, yeah, they bring a ton of that traction to you, just like how, you know, TR Lab is a platform that's kind of starting up. So my reach and following was not big enough to allow me to sell out on that platform, you know, but with Nifty, I sold out very easily. So yeah, it's just, there's a lot of factors to consider as an artist.
So yeah, that's cool. And so, I mean, so Nifty have kind of changed their ways a bit, when they doing loads, you know, it was like a few drops on the same night or something. And now it's
I think, but they've changed. People got mad, you know, people criticized the shit out of them, you know, 888 like fully divorced himself from them. And there's been a lot of drama, but, at first people, I think, had the perception that they were being greedy, and maybe they were being a little bit greedy, in all of the open editions, you know, that were very quickly depreciating, but they've started to care way more for their secondary market and be way more strategic. There's not multiple artist drops per day. Like there will be 2 a lot of the time, but that's not oversaturating things. And then they limit the editions. They pretty much focus mostly on drawings. There are way fewer open editions nowadays. And the drawings are becoming more and more like collector only. Like if you look at Alex Ness's work, Ness Graphics, you know, like, and Rath's drop today, like most of those are collector only drops at this point. And that's kind of where Nifty is pushing me towards as well, is like, as I grow my collector base, and now I've got like maybe 100 to 150 collectors on Nifty, that means that I can in the future just release pieces that are collector only, and create more demand and scarcity. And this kind of like, it does get back to that, like, oh, it's the VIP experience. If I own this, then I get access to this. But it does create an addictive feeling where you want to hold that person's piece so that you can get into their future drops, because you think that they're going to, you know, their work's going to increase. And now it's extremely, extremely difficult to get like a Raf Grassetti piece or an Alex Ness piece without either a ton of luck or a ton of money. So like, that's kind of how they're skewing it, is these top line artists are only able to, or you're only able to collect their work if you've got their previous pieces. And it's just becoming more and more exclusive in a way. That doesn't mean you can't get on board with other artists that are up and coming, but it's a good model. It seems to be working for them. And like they've got a different user base than Super Rare. Like I think Super Rare attracts all of the big whales that just want the one of one art, and they want to say, I've got this completely unique piece that nobody else has. Whereas Nifty is more like the mid-level collectors that are often just looking to flip pieces and make a profit. And it works, you know, it's very like kind of like the OpenSea model, you know, but for art. So it's somewhere between like the OpenSea of like these insane collectibles and 10K, you know, generative projects. And then on the other end of things, you know, you got the one of one art. Nifty's somewhere in the middle there with more of the mid-level collectors. And it's good to have multiple outlets to like have a broader range of collectors. Like, you know, I've got a bunch of collectors on Nifty that are maybe, you know, the more mid-level collectors and people that can actually, like, it's good for people to be able to afford your work across the spectrum, you know, through editions.
I mean, perhaps because, you know, you're paying dollars or whatever. I mean, you think you can pay in ETH now as well. But
yeah,
like,
that's another, it's very accessible, and that's true of Maker's Place too. Like, I think that all the platforms should allow you to pay in credit card as an option. Right. I mean, it's kind of sucks for artists. Like with credit card payments, you don't get as much money because there is a credit card fee that comes out of it. I don't know if you're aware of that, but yeah, like on Maker's Place. It doesn't get waived. And on Maker's, no, it doesn't. And on Maker's Place, yeah, it'll be like, you know, a sale that's 2,400 in ETH might be like $2,000 from the credit card. Wow. Or something like that. So it is a pretty big difference, but you know, it also attracts more people. It's like, and I just think of like the days of doing invoices on, you know, for client jobs. I would allow credit card payments, even though it would cost me $200-$300 per thing, because you're getting such a big chunk of money. Like, screw it. You know, you want to give your clients, you want to afford them the luxury of just paying there immediately on their credit card, rather than having to write a check or go through the rigmarole of like bank transfers and wire transfers and all that stuff. Like, you want to make it convenient for them. And ultimately it's like a write-off or just like an extra I mean, maybe in this case, it's not a write-off, but it's just like, you can kind of think of it as just the cost of doing business,
Right. Okay. Yeah,
just like their platform.
I guess it's a good way of sort of making peace with it, like, yeah. There's a couple of things there that I'm like, whoa, we should talk about. Obviously, well, I'm looking at it. So there's obviously the drop yesterday. And because Nifty's like, obviously, like, how did you get, I don't think you've even said how you got into Nifty. Yeah.
888. Like, I don't know. I don't even know if Nifty lets in artists that are applying directly to their site. Like, I haven't heard that many stories of people being like, I applied to Nifty and I got in and they gave me a drop. A lot of the time it's like collectors that'll shoehorn you in. They're like, you got to get this guy on, so it's more of like a, get invited to the cool club kind of thing. Or the other way I see it happening, like with Ryan Talbot, for instance, King of Midtown is a collector who created a big like drop of like a bunch of different artists. Right. And, but that gets your piece on Nifty. And so then Nifty's familiar with your work, and maybe that they're more likely to reach out to you directly after that. So Ryan does have a solo drop coming up in March, probably because he was led there by King of Midtown. So I think there are several ways to get in, but I've not heard of like anybody getting in through the official way, unless it was probably the very early days, because it is the most exclusive marketplace.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for clearing that.
And that's kind of right. It's kind of what I was trying to do with our Obscura drop, actually, is we brought 10 artists to Nifty and Art Basel.
This is it. Yeah, you've been doing this for a while, because obviously we had, the Get NFT collective on 7th with one of your collectors, illustrator, and then let's talk about Obscura.
Sure.
And we'll just jump into that.
Yeah.
This was, go for it, man. Go for it. Talk us through this one.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, this Obscura drop, it's a bit of a weird story. So we were approached by this lawyer who I won't name, but we were working with him. We had a bunch of great Zoom calls with him, me and Chelsea. And, he seemed extremely friendly, and he's very involved in the crypto and NFT space. So, and we gotten referred to him by someone legit. So we thought it was going to be like a match made in heaven, right? Like, yes, we've got a lawyer that understands crypto. And he started kind of like acting like our agent, interestingly. He like created this big proposal for how we should create a Discord channel and expand our reach. And he was going to create like companies for us, like a S Corp or a C Corp or something. Anyway, just before Art Basel, out of the blue, like maybe this like 2 weeks before, he told us that he was, quote, creating an event for us at Art Basel, because he just couldn't see us. He couldn't see us not being there. We had to go to Basel, right? And so it was going to be this like red carpet luxe experience for us. And he'd fly us out and pay for our room and board, et cetera. And then we were going to do an in-person gallery exhibition and NFT sale. So he sold us this whole like idea of this big package, like, let's do a real life NFT sale, and like you can sell it on a platform, like, just pick a platform. But we'll do this in-person thing, which is unique, and not a lot of people get to do this. So it sounded awesome, but also potentially overwhelming. But to meet him halfway and contribute, I actually went and contacted Andrea from Nifty Gateway. She's my contact there, to see if we could do one of the new verified drops, which is something Nifty just added. They're not directly curated by Nifty, but they're from people that they trust and have verified, essentially. Okay. And I had seen all of those selling out as well, which was cool. And she immediately accepted, because she's awesome. And so Chelsea and I went about gathering our favorite artists who would also be either in Miami, like several of them were already like lived in Miami, or would be down to travel to Miami for the event, because we felt like it was important. Like, if we're going to do this, we need all our artists there in person to talk to the collectors in the room, as well as be on the Nifty site. It's like, yeah, we could create like like the best rock star team ever or whatever by reaching out to people all over the internet, but that wasn't the vibe we wanted to do. We wanted to have like an in-person, like legit IRL art sale kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we got, one of my best friends and, also one of the most talented like 3D artists I know, Jan Sladeko. And then we got Alien Queen, who I don't know if you know her, but she's an incredible illustrator with like an extremely trippy psychedelic style. And then we got Glass Crown and Regina Wamba, who are both amazing fine art photographers and compositors. And then, as I mentioned, Abel Okugawa and his wife Rahima, who are composers as well as visual artists that I said, that I worked with back at my first job in Charlottesville. And they've been good friends of mine for years. So this was awesome to be able to bring Abel into the fold, and hang out with him in person. And yeah, like I said, he does, most of the sound design and music composition for a lot of my pieces. Then we got another great 3D artist named Beryl, and she had actually just gone through a really shitty experience in LA where she got robbed. So you heard about that?
Oh, I heard. Yeah, I mean, she's a playing arts artist. So we.
That's right. She's a playing art artist. Yeah, I forgot. She's super, super nice. And so we invited her to be part of our crew. And then also this amazing illustrator, Nate Main. And then last minute, I also snagged Joey Camacho because I was on Twitter, I was like, who's going to Art Basel? Because we had 9 artists and I wanted to get to maybe 10. And Joey was like, oh, I'm going to be there. I'm like, oh, fuck yes. Yeah. So Joey, also known as Ron Rendered, he's been doing dailies almost as long as Beeple. He's a madman. Yeah. I love that dude. But yeah, so we got 10 artists involved. Mm-hmm. Then in the week leading up to the event, we were like, okay, we got to get organized. And, there were some weird flags happening, like the name of the event that our lawyer and his wife had decided on. And actually there was another person we found out was involved. That was the event coordinator that wanted this to be a Latinx party. And we're like, what? And they're like, yeah, we're calling it Electronica Salvetica. We're like, what the hell is that? It has nothing to do. Great. If you want to promote awareness for minorities, that's super cool. But what is we're not Latinos. None of us, not a single one of us. What are we doing here? What make this make sense? And we tried to chip in, and every time we tried to chip in and help make something, Regina would do incredible branding, right? But that would just get shot down. We had an idea to call it Art Basel, because it was going to be at this plant live garden type space. So we're let's call it Art Basel at Art Basel, just find something fun and put plants in there. And they were like, no. So we just got shot down anytime we tried to participate. And then they were holding any of the details about the layout of the space. So yeah, we were just shut down the whole time by this lawyer and his wife.
It was really off.
Yeah, it was really weird. So we just got, our spidey senses started tingling, and we're like, this doesn't seem right, And so finally it came out that they hadn't even been planning to get any screens for us whatsoever. They weren't going to pay. They were out of money. It wasn't from their pocket either. It was from the Near blockchain or something that wanted to sponsor this event. And he was just planning on, he was like, okay, well, I'll buy several TVs from Best Buy at Miami once we get there. It's no. This is going to be the most hacked bullshit. Yeah. Rug pull. Yeah. Exactly. We were just oh, hell no. We're this, you guys, your standards are not up to quality. I'm sorry. So we literally had to back out of the event because, it was going to reflect really poorly on us as artists, in our careers. And we're also putting all these other artists on the line and their careers. We're come to our event. It's going to be cool. We swear. No, it's not going to be cool. It's going to be a fucking train wreck. So we backed out, and we sent them a really nice message that was no hard feelings. We still respect you guys. And it's just, we couldn't communicate properly. So it's not going to work. And immediately he turned on us and started saying crazy things David, let's be real here. We're enemies now. I'm what?
Whoa.
I'm not your enemy. I don't care. You go do your own thing. I'm not your fucking enemy. He's no, we're enemies. If we're being real here, we're enemies. I'm whoa, dude, this is a very, very different side of you. And then it's you start to think are these guys lawyers? Did I, they say that they're lawyers in New York, but every time I did a Zoom call with them, it was the weird cutout view where it's he's got a coffee shop in New York in the background that's fake. It's where are they actually based? What's going on here? It's this whole family of quote unquote lawyers.
Wow.
And I had sent them the retainer of $4,000 that they were going to use to create our corporations and stuff. Never getting that back. Never getting that back. No. So rug pull.
That's a bit of a scam completely, right? I think
it felt like a scam. And I was fuck, who the fuck talks like that? And then he goes on to say, my power is growing in this space. and starts chucking threats at me like lawyers are a tight-knit community. And I'm like, oh yeah, so like I'm just gonna get blacklisted by the entire lawyer community, like every lawyer in existence now. Give me a fucking break. And then like the whole like still to this day, like my power is growing in this space is like, who talks like that? Like that stuck with us as a group, and now it's just an inside joke. We want to like make t-shirts that are like, my power is growing. It's like, and we just like in our private artist group that we created, like we've quickly like kicked them out of or we like created a new group on Twitter, and it's just the memes started flying of like Anakin Skywalker or like, you know, fucking Voldemort, yeah. Like the L'Oreal Voldemort commercial, like my power is growing. Like what the fuck?
Oh, dude. Wow, yeah. I think you dodged a bullet there.
We dodged a massive bullet, right? So out of the ashes of this very weird situation, we created this brand that we called Obscura. And my collector, who's amazing, who I've been Skyping with constantly, XXX, swooped in to save the day and connected us with some extremely professional folks at Dragonfly Capital and Shima Capital, who are like two big crypto investment companies. And they were having a rooftop party, like very close to all the action at Art Basel, even much closer than the original event was going to be. So we like totally upgraded. And they were really interested in having some NFT art displayed there. And like the very first thing they do is like, give us the keys to their website. They had an event website. They're like, yeah, sure, rebrand it. And so we did. We Regina went there and made it look absolutely slick. They were just on board and insanely easy and professional to work with. There were a bunch of new problems to solve now that we're like, shit, we're doing this event ourselves and we're investing in ourselves. Right. So we, you know, the first problem was like the TVs. We decided we wanted to buy the really nice Samsung frame TVs, right? Because those actually look like art.
I got one of those. They're nice. Yeah.
Unfortunately, there was no wall in the space to put that on. It's a rooftop party. So we had to like, so last minute we're like, fuck, are we going to have to like, you know, buy these stands and then just like, because we needed them to be mounted vertically as well to not make the artwork look dinky. You know, we were like thinking we were going to have to rig them up on some piece of wood and like on a stand and drill into them, like this super hacky solution. But luckily, Joey Camacho last minute found these TVs called Samsung Zeros that have they have a remote that lets them fully turn vertically or horizontally. So like. Okay. And they have their own stands. It's all in one solution. They were like over $1,000 and we bought 10 of them. So it was a big fucking investment. But we're like, screw it. We're investing in ourselves. We're investing in these artists. We want to create something cool. And yeah, so we ended up like trying to order 10 of them. Like some of them were from Walmart and then they got canceled because Walmart would only let us do like one or two at a time. So, and then, you know, Alien Queen had 3 sent to her house because Amazon would allow it to get it fast enough. And then we found that there were 3 in a Best Buy that we reserved like in, you know, like 30 minutes outside of Miami. And we're like just trying to track these things down. So like we managed to cobble together 8 out of 10. But I was prepared for that because I had like obsessively like loaded everyone's art onto the USBs. And I thankfully have a Samsung TV. So I was able to test. At first I thought it was like, I'd called a collector of mine that has TVs like these. And I thought they just needed SD cards. But no, actually they use USB sticks.
So you had to get the USB stick for each one as well. Load
had to get a USB. Yeah. I had like a whole key ring of USB sticks. Then I had one piece and like a 2-hour loop. Or actually a 1-hour loop on each USB stick because the interface comes up if you don't do that. That's the one thing my collector told me is that it doesn't loop seamlessly. That's another issue. Like there's no good solution for NFTs at this point, you know?
Yeah, that's another thing, isn't it? Like displays. Yeah. I would love like, you know, when I was looking into this as well, like infinite objects and things like that, but you can put one on there and that's
right.
It's not, there's nothing that you
and there's
can
no sound.
Plug into. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. So, you know, lots of issues. So we got as many of these Samsung Zeros as we could. And then we doubled up artists I had USB sticks that had 2 artists per thing. So that in the worst case scenario where we only had 5 TVs, we could still make it work. So Chelsea and I doubled up and then Regina and Glass Crown doubled up. But yeah, so, you know, it worked. We managed to get them all to the event. We rented a U-Haul. We got 2 Airbnbs, one for like the early setup and testing where it was just me, Nate, Chelsea, and Jan. And then later we got another Airbnb that was closer to the actual event where we were able to have like almost 15 people. And that was super fun because everybody came in. It was this giant party. Like we all hung out and chilled. it was still really stressful, like putting on this event.
Dude,
Unfortunately, the Nifty drop didn't sell out. Like, I guess it was maybe just an issue with us not being able to market effectively enough. And like looking at it in retrospect, it's like, oh, okay, maybe the other verified drops had much bigger names and collectors behind them. So maybe like verified is more like you're dropping an OpenSea collection almost. Like it's on Nifty, but it's not on the main curated drops, thing. So, I was really hoping everybody would sell out, but we still, as a group sold about $140,000 worth of art. But then unfortunately, there were a ton of declined credit cards. So ultimately, we only made about $77,000 as a group because of all these declined credit cards. But that's part of the process too, is like, there's no way to like protect against that as Nifty. That's another issue about credit cards, is the money's not there. And if the card gets declined, like literally XXX was like, oh shit, I maxed out my credit card. I didn't realize. Like he was one of the people that did that.
Oh, wow. No way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to do. Like you're buying these really expensive pieces. It's easy to, max out your credit card. And then there were other like issues when we finally got up there onto the roof, we had like 2 hours to set up, right? Which was very, very stressful. And we're like trying to assemble all these TV, or get them out of the boxes, and like set them up and plug in the USB sticks, make sure that they look clean and they're evenly spaced. But we found out right there that one remote controls all of them. So the second I would try and program one loop to go, it would affect everything else. So I had a moment of like sheer panic where it's like, we've gone this far and now we're going to have one NFT playing on one screen out of 8, because the second I try to, have this another remote talk to this thing, it just talks to all of them. So Abel at the last minute came up with this genius solution. He found a fucking tarp and he tarped me off on each TV so that I could like program each TV separately. And we got it all working. We got it all working for maybe an hour. When they hit the loop points, they turned sideways again. And so I was like in the middle of this event tarping myself off and trying to fix the fucking art. Eventually we just gave up. It was like enough collectors were there and like loved seeing the art. And Chelsea was, everyone was dressed up and Chelsea was running around like telling everybody about each artist and everything. It was fun. Like ultimately we all had fun. Everyone had a great attitude. Nobody was mad that we didn't fully sell out, and like it was a trial run, and we bonded and gelled as a group, and that's the thing that mattered the most. And then the next day, like once all that was over, we just got to spend the whole day like looking at art, going to these big exhibitions. Like there's this one called it's like right on the beach called Scope, and it's like this massive fucking tent with art everywhere, and it was so inspiring. And then we went to the on Friday, we just like literally Ubered all around the city going to the different places. Like there's this one dude, Laser Lou, who is basically like my mirror boxes, but practical, where he like sets up all these crazy lasers to go in and out of glass and stuff. So like we went to check that out and talk to him for a while. We went to the there's like an obelisk, or I forget what it's called, the monument or something of super rares. I'm blanking on the official name. But it was playing a lot of artists' work. Like Ryan's work was on there and a lot of other people's work. So we just sat there and stared at it for a while. And then there was like an interesting like clothing design store right there. Like there's just art everywhere. It's really, really cool. But these people had created almost like the night before Christmas clothing line that was like just completely insane. Like with this one dress that you'd have to be on literally like stilts to wear. And Chelsea like started talking to this guy, and she's got this idea that I can't talk about for next year, where we're going to go even bigger, and it will maybe involve this line of clothing. And these people are on like Project Runway and shit, and like she's got like a lot of ideas for how to make these really cool events, because she's got a huge event planning background. That's how she sniffed these people out immediately. She's like, this is fake news right here. So like. Anyway,
that's great to know that you're going to do some more of these. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's just we'll come back to Nifty. I think at some point, and I would like to do it now, is talk about your card.
Absolutely.
Of course, because we're on this Playing Arts podcast, we might as well check out the 7 clubs. Yeah,
7 clubs. So this is just. It's another one of my mirror boxes. And in this case, I'm animating from like a super, super wide fisheye lens, like impossibly wide. I don't think a fisheye lens like this would exist in reality. And I'm literally just orbiting the camera, which creates this, you know, weird like feeling of all these things rushing by the camera, but in this like circular fashion. You can see it when we get out to the wide aspect here. And also towards the beginning or the end of the shot of this loop, I've got shallow depth of field on. So it's mostly like bokeh shapes rushing by the lens. Then I'm just zooming in the lens, like zooming in. So it feels like this whole thing's unfolding. And of course, like the mirror box itself is creating those infinite reflections and all of this extra detail that you wouldn't get otherwise. And I'm using, one of Merck's plugins, I think, on this called Respline, which is like, the atom array on crack, basically. It's just a really easy way to create splines from geometry like the atom array. And then there's a way for you to trim and animate the splines. So there's kind of like this object in the middle that's emitting all of the color and being reflected in the mirror box. And then I've also got a texture in that atom array, in that geometry, that's just simply transforming, just like animating on the X or the Y, in order to create some movement and color variation as well within that object. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not anything crazy. It was actually an earlier piece of mine before NFTs. It was an old experiment, but I shared it with the Playing Arts team when they approached me because I was so booked. And because the first frame looks just like their symbol for clubs, which is 3 circles.
Happy accident.
Yeah, it worked really well, so we went for it. So that's pretty much the whole story of that. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, and like how big is the box that you're in? What scale are you working to?
I don't know, man. It's sometimes I literally I never look at units. I don't look at like how big is this thing. I scale it up until it feels right. Like if you scale it up too big, the reflections get kind of separated apart. Okay. And if you scale it up too small, or if you scale it down too small, you don't have any room to move. And also the reflections can get overwhelming. It's very easy actually to create too much detail with these things, where if you subdivide too many times, it just looks like a giant mess. So you actually go for lower poly geometry in general with these.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about any of the any of the artists that because
yeah, sure.
How you came to be like on the lineup, I guess. We got there's I've said this before. I mean I've said this to you as well. Like when it was first starting up, I was just like, this list of names is there, and you're just like, okay, this is cool. And then I saw your name and I was like, well, if David's doing it.
I think I think it was Ryan Hawthorne who legitimized the project for me, because at first, any person approaching you, your immediate thought is it a scam? Is this a scam? Right. And I mean, that's gotten to be, we're even more paranoid now than we were several months ago. But yeah, it's like, you have to really vet the people you're working for and the projects that you're joining up with, as well as the platforms. Like the platforms may be totally legitimate, but they may be so new that it's just going to hurt your reputation as an artist. So a lot of the time it's really hard to discern, is this legit or not? But one thing that adds legitimacy is if other artists that are big names are getting into it. So Ryan Hawthorne was like, no, this is legit. I think we've got Fesk and we've got some other people. And so yeah, that's what gave me the confidence. And then that just kind of creates this pile-on effect,
Yeah, for sure. Do you have, because you've collected some of these cards yourself, do you have a favorite a favorite in there?
I mean, my favorite's probably either Searlight or Mr. Misang. I just love the style of both of those guys. Mr. Misang, I guess I didn't know him before NFTs, but I've been a big fan. And, I think, like I said before the show even started, I didn't think this project was going to sell out. I was absolutely shocked. And so I completely ignored the whitelist on the day that it was going out. And had to scramble to buy a couple on secondary. Yeah. I think Chelsea bought one of mine, and then I made her flip it for some amount of money more, and she was pissed off about flipping it because she's like the perma diamond hands girl. She's just always wants to hold everything and believes that it'll go up forever. So it'll come back someday. I'm like, no, this whatever. Other project, no, it's dead, but sometimes shit does come back. You never know. It's just, it's such a crazy, we're all just flying by the seats of our pants, and, we never know what's going to blow up next. And it's hard to make wise investments. There's very few that I'm super confident in. other than like things that have kind of proven the test of time. But it's like, what does that even mean at this point? It's like proving, like, the test of time is like 6 months, right? It's a very short in the grand scheme of things.
But yeah, you're talking about, Bored Apes and stuff. It wasn't that long ago. It wasn't long ago.
No, it was not long ago. No. POC is one that I definitely invest heavy in.
Did you get into Merge?
OG. I did. Yeah. I mean, that was funny because Merge was happening. I think that's a reason why our drop didn't sell very well, because Merge was literally going on at the exact same time as our drop. It's like you're competing with the highest sale for a living artist in all of human history. He made $91 million. So not too much of a surprise that we didn't sell out, I guess. I was like, either this is going to be really great and it's going to drive a ton of attention to the site, or this is going to fuck us.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
we're still like, we sold like half of our pieces in general. We're like not upset.
No, not at all. No, I mean, and this is, but one of many. So if you're going to do these kind of events again, that's fantastic. You've set.
I feel like the process of creating art is actually just tripping over and over in the same way and trying to make it look cool. You're like, oh, I'm doing a mirror box. Oh, let's make it a little bit cooler. Let's make it a little bit cooler. Like, mirror boxes are a thing, guys. This is a real form of art. It's like, or whether it's an event, like, okay, we're going to make it bigger the next year. We're going to make it cooler the next year. We're going to make sure that, consistency, like, I think that's why the MoGraph guys, have such a good podcast, is they're excessively consistent for years, and it's not like it's ever blown up, but it's gotten slow and organic growth. And now they have a big audience and,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So you avoided getting rugged on the Obscura, but unfortunately you did get hacked.
We got pocked. Oh, I got hacked. Yes. It's been a crazy month.
It's been a year for you, man. There's a lot of events happened.
So that was its own insanity. That happened literally like a week before Miami, or like a few days even before Miami. I was still dealing with all that, and it took me like a week to get my Instagram account back. Everything's fine now. All is well, but I got SIM swapped, which I did like a big detailed post about it on Twitter, and Pac, like, he's fucking awesome. He like put a fucking bounty out for to try and find the hacker. I don't know if it's like I've got PTSD now. No, I'm just kidding. So I was sitting there. I had just gotten off a Zoom call with XXX, my collector, and we were just shooting the shit and talking about this project. I was doing this TR Lab project, right? And I had to deliver stuff to them in a few hours. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my email, and in front of me, I see someone has logged into your account, your Gmail account. If this isn't you, click here. I'm like, okay, this isn't me. I'm clicking here. Nothing happens. Someone has logged into your Instagram account. Someone has changed your phone number. Someone has changed your password. Someone has removed 2-factor authentication. I'm like, what the fuck? I just started panicking. First it was my Instagram, then it was my Twitter, and I couldn't get back into either of those accounts. Then I like looked down at my phone to call Chelsea, and it's got 0 bars. It's like out of service, which that doesn't happen. And I'm like, whoa, this is like a coordinated attack against me. I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to lose all my crypto assets. I didn't know it was going to happen. Like, at the very least, I had just lost Twitter and Instagram, and I had this massive sinking feeling in my stomach. I had just kicked off my auction for literally like an hour or two before, had kicked off my auction for my second piece on Super Rare, the nascent metaverse. That was the Motion Plus Design one. And here I am, unable to communicate, and I couldn't even call my wife. So luckily, this artist, Nate, who went to the show with us, he actually lives with us. We've got like a little, collective going right now in Colorado. But so I went upstairs to him, and I was like, dude, I can't fucking, I was like, I think I'm getting hacked. And he was like, oh shit. So I borrowed his phone and I called Chelsea, and I was like, I'm getting hacked. Someone stole my Twitter and Instagram accounts, and now my phone's not working. I'm like, what do I do? I had no clue what to do. Mm-hmm. She's like very fast on the ball. I was just like kind of getting like having a panic attack essentially. But she like called T-Mobile immediately, and they knew what to do. And they, so basically a SIM swap is when someone can just like it's a very common scam apparently, where someone can go into T-Mobile, or not go in, but just call them and give them a big sob story about how, I don't even know how the scam goes essentially, but they get your SIM number and it gets reattached to their phone number, which allowed them to bypass my 2FA. And that is something that I learned through this whole process, that normal text 2FA is not good enough. You need to have authenticator apps. So
Right.
I've since done that. I've got Google Authenticate as well as Authy. But yeah, it's like, these are not things we want to have to care about as artists, like all this crypto security stuff. And through this process, we got in contact with this ethical hacker named Simona, and she tracked down a bunch of their wallet addresses to a single source of a hacker ring that had over 94,000 ETH in their wallet, which is $400 million.
Wow.
So across tons of scams, like tons of different scams, there's some hacker ring. The scammer actually called me and threatened me and my wife. He said he was going to kill my stepson, like all these crazy, scary things. He got into the groups that I was in and started threatening people in the group, saying, "You're next," all this crazy shit. This little fucking twerp. He called me, and I basically called his bluff. Like, I think that if he was able to get access to more things, he would have. So the other part of this problem was that I had a secondary Gmail account with a password that hadn't been updated in years, right? And I wasn't thinking about it. And it was like my backup account that I never used. But that's how he got in, because it's still attached to Twitter and Instagram. So he found the password that was obviously compromised, got into that account, and he managed to pull off the SIM swap at the same time. So with those two things, he was able to bypass my 2FA, get into my Instagram and Twitter, and then he ran around scamming all of my friends. And luckily he didn't know enough about the crypto space to stick to Twitter, where all the collectors are, but he started messaging every single person I'd ever talked to on Instagram ever, sending this,
got a message.
You got a message.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like, if you do that enough, a few people are going to fall for it. And a couple of my friends sent him $8,000. One of my friends sent him, I think, $30,000. And that was his life savings. And he's out of the NFT game now. I'm not going to say it is, because he's like very embarrassed about it too. It's like this horrible thing where it creates like this feeling of shame as well for losing your money and feeling dumb enough to fall for something. But this guy also is not a native English speaker, so that factors in. Like, they're easier to manipulate because they're not going to notice the subtle inconsistencies in grammar and things that I wouldn't have ever said. Mm-hmm. Some people were smart enough to be like, most people saw through it, but a lot of people like fucked with him and were like, what's the default number of samples on path tracing? And he's like, what? He's like, and then other people are like saying Octane Jesus, and he's like, what are you talking about, bro? So obviously, yeah. But I got tons of messages. Like, thankfully, I got my Twitter account back that same day. Twitter somehow was very responsive at getting me, back into my account, and just using the previous email that I had. And so I was able to recover that account, do a big post about the whole thing. And like, even like Chelsea was smart enough when we were on the phone call to record the phone call. Yeah. Actually it was Cyrus, my stepson's idea. And then she executed that. And so that I felt like, if we're going through this crazy thing, we might as well like try to make it, educational for everyone else and show them what was happening, and Pac saw that, reached out to me directly through DMs, was like, wow, this is quite insane. He was like, are you comfortable with me like putting a bounty on this hacker's head? I'm like, sure. Right. Dude, you're awesome. I don't think it's resolved into anything, but Chelsea actually did manage to get in contact with the FBI. And I think we sent them a bunch of, documents that Simona collected. So we'll see where that goes. And I would recommend getting Simona's book. I think I sent you the link. It's an NFT and it has downloadable content of like a 100-page PDF book. And this is specifically geared towards security for NFT artists. So I think this is huge. And I've started to dig into it, but only just. So I think, unfortunately, all of us have to, in this like just emerging space with all of these scammers, where it's easier to scam people than it is for other things with like centralized banks. we have to like be our own best security and like be on top of it and be one step ahead to protect what we own, which is hopefully that won't be the case in the future. Hopefully it'll get to be easier, but I feel like there's always going to be smart people out there that train their whole lives to be hackers, and
just because they can,
because they can. Yeah, it's unfortunate,
it is,
but a necessary, maybe hopefully not necessary, but an evil about this space right now. And I've gotten scammed in small ways a couple other times just from clicking on collections where I was like trying to like actually through the playing arts thing, when I was in that scramble to grab some cards, I clicked on a collection that was fake, and it was like, oh, look at how low these prices are. This is great. And I grabbed one. I was like, a couple minutes later, I'm like, what the fuck did I do? Of course this is fake. Like, and it was just like a couple $100. So no big deal. And there was another time where that is how they get you though, when you're panicked and in the scramble. Like, there was another time where the Clone X thing, I got like, this was before everyone was getting millions of DMs that were scams. And it was like one of the first where I got a DM that said Clone X was minting, and I clicked on it. And of course it was a fake site, and I tried to mint too. And I was like, wait a second, this number isn't going down. This is, and then I like look, and it's like their Artifact Studios.to rather than .com or whatever it was. I'm like, oh, you fucking kidding me? And then none of the buttons worked, and it's like completely fake. I'm like, I just threw some money down the rat hole, lost $300 on that one. So thankfully, I haven't lost much money at all to scams yet, but it's like now it really feels real. No, I mean, I know, but it feels real. It's like an ever present danger in this space to some extent. So yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it does. I mean, let's move on.
It was an interesting experience, and it was definitely a lesson that my security equals everyone else's security. This person was preying off of the fact that people trust me, that I'm a well-known educator, and that there's a lot of people that would bend over backwards for me. So it's like, at the same time, it was like, these are some of my like best friends that would do anything for me. And heartbreakingly, they're people that got screwed over because of that fact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's real heavy. Like,
it's pretty heavy. But there's an upside. Like I'm planning on doing a drop with the guy that lost 30,000. I'm just going to do a 50-50 split with him on Super Rare. He's a really good artist, so I'm very comfortable like releasing a piece with him. I don't know if we're going to have some kind of like fuck hackers theme or something. Mm-hmm. We'll figure it out. And then, there's also an idea to just mint the actual recording of the hacker and sell that as an NFT, to like just raise money, like make it a really low price on OpenSea, like crowdsource it to raise money for the people that got screwed, the other few people that got screwed over. But there's another one of my collectors, people have reached out to me directly that are like, I want to help, like, let me know when that hacker drop is, because I want to, help. So it's really cool. Like the community will protect itself. I mean, not always. I've seen people that are like, losing their Bored Apes and whatnot by falling for really common scams. And a lot of time people on Twitter are just like, why'd you do a deal down the back alley like that? Why are you so fucking stupid? So like a lot of the time people are pretty harsh, but in this case, I feel like it's extremely understandable that, this guy had a pretty good scheme where he was talking about deploying a smart contract and like, and it went further than that. It had something to do with, I think, an ape, and I think people also thought they were, that they were going to get more money out of it, that it was like a collab with me or something. He was just using my, essentially, my reputation to benefit himself. Yeah.
That sucks. It sucks, man.
Yeah.
It's amazing though that, like you say, like community and rallied around, and even your collectors and stuff as well. And it just shows that you've got, quite a strong relationship with several of them, which is, it's
definitely
really, really cool. And
I mean, like ultimately they're just people, they're friends, we don't need to think of them as clients like we used to. They're not lording over us in the best client, in the best collector relationships. You're on the same team and you have the same goal. So you're just friends and approaching the problem from a different angle.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. It's something that we've touched on in other episodes as well. And it's just like, the nature of these kind of relationships can be very different. Where do you take the time to get to know, collectors, or I don't know, certain collectors at least,
Yeah, I mean, certain ones that you just connect with, just like any kind of relationship with any other person. A lot of the time, the best way to, quote unquote, shill your work is the long shill by just like befriending them and talking about things that are completely unrelated. It's not like in a manipulative sense. It's just like, if you become friends with this person, you're going to like be like, oh, hey, look, I've got this like drop, or whatever. And like in a way that's organic, like the whole project with Tim came up because we were just talking and talking about the crypto space and whatnot. And, he just is a nice guy and wanted to include me. And so we created this project together and worked together for a while. And then, he gifted me the ape and like told me about like the inside scoop on POC and like, and vice versa. I'm like, for my collectors, I'm telling them the best artists, I'm like with Triple X, I'm helping stack his deck of artists to make his platform and his projects that much better. And that's what I can bring to the table. So again, it's a partnership and it's a collaboration.
Goes right back to how you got on Maker's Place, because you have that insight and how the sausage is made, kind of thing. So
exactly.
You're like, this is legit, this is whatever, and obviously it's subjective, but you have the experience to say there's hours of work that's gone into this, so this is like a worthy kind of piece for the collection. So
exactly
it's kind of like a advisory role kind of thing, which is
100%. And I'm really excited that when the 888 platform comes out, 888 the New World, he's going to give me the role of head lead curator of 3D art kind of thing, which is really great. Like I want to, there's so many undiscovered, or actually they're discovered. They're people that are absolute gods in our 3D motion design industry who have not, for whatever reason, gotten traction in the NFT space. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with communication and marketing. There's just maybe a lot of people are just used to, if you're working for Elastic, your identity kind of gets folded into that company. And you're not putting that much effort ultimately into creating a brand around yourself or, launching your own solo art career. And it's interesting that so many people were trying to do that with Instagram before, when all you got was the likes. It's like the likes at first, it's meaningless, but now it does have some meaning, and that's what Beeple, I think, was one of the first things he said to me after his massive sales was like, the likes were the likes were fucking real all along, bro. They mattered. Yeah.
That's funny, dude. Yeah. I mean, it's nice that he's basically still the same too, and the same kind of guy.
He's very ridiculous.
Yeah. You just talked about like new artists and stuff. So how are you actually going about discovering new artists?
That's a good question. So I've got my little notes here to just jog my brain. But like many of the artists I already knew from, years of scouring Vimeo and the Octane Facebook group, Instagram, Twitter. We've been doing this for 10 or more years, right? And so we know a lot more. Yeah, we know so many artists already. So a lot of it's just like immediately at my tip of my memory or brain or whatever. Yeah, exactly. But I'm discovering more and more every day. Like NFTs are really highlighting a lot of people that I had no clue about, and from different industries too. It's not just 3D art. So I'm much more tapped into like who all the awesome 3D artists are, but not so much who, the awesome matte painters are, who's doing like cell animation and 2D and painting and photography and sculpture and all these crazy different mediums, and now AI and generative work, that's a thing too. And a lot of the artists I'm finding are through like shout outs from other artists that I respect, like Gavin Shapiro, who's amazing at like highlighting unseen artists as well. He'll do like Twitter threads of like 10 or 15 artists that he thinks deserve more of a spotlight, which I think is super awesome. And I think we need more people doing stuff like that. Especially people that have quote unquote made it, that are like at, on the top, on the leaderboard of like cryptoart.io, close to the top. Like we need more of those types of people really highlighting artists, and also like my wife Chelsea finds a ton of amazing people that I would have never come across because she's way more patched into all sorts of art. She's got art experience from her entire life, like painting and, jewelry design. And she did dancing for a long time and, and writing. And she's just, a jack of all trades, or a Jill of all trades, as she would say. But yeah. And so, between the two of us as a team, we find like heaps of really great artists out there.
Yeah. I mean, with Chelsea's got a very particular style, obviously different to yours. So she's got a different, whole different spectrum of artists that she can, but I guess that kind of like gives you some, something to share between the two, if you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been a really, really fun journey, because before it felt like I was doing client work and Chelsea was, she was doing her own thing, like photography, but we had two separate careers, whereas now we're just on the same track. We're two heads approaching the problem from different angles and discovering our own things and then comparing notes. It's fucking awesome. So yeah, we have a really great team together, and, great relationship and partnership. So, yeah,
that's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's because I've said that we'll come back to it so many times. We haven't even looked at the hypnotic trips.
Sure.
Let's just take a look at that, and then we can kind of close this one out, because I think
that sounds good. We've been going for a long ass time.
we have, and this was yesterday, man. Let's just jump into it and just see what we got.
Yeah, sure.
So more mirror box.
More mirror boxes. Yep. Let's look at it. So I don't really know what to say. I think my favorite piece might be Quantum Transcendence. So the funny thing about these is that I make these pieces.
I'm gonna find
and
that.
Then
there we go.
So with this, it's like a full 2-minute experience kind of thing. And with a lot of this stuff, I'm like not that into it as I'm making it. I'm like literally just rendering stuff out without even adding music. And then eventually I add the music and try and make it all work in the edit, Excuse me. My voice is like failing at this point because we've been talking so long, but,
sorry about that, man.
No, it's all good. But yeah, like I'll find like I'll scour premiumbeat.com, right? And just pay for that $200 pro license, which is one you got to get for NFTs. And then, I'll actually first I'll do a trial run with a bunch of different tracks. And then I'll find the one that I think fits the best, the mood of the piece, and that starts to fit certain transitions. So I'll drop clips in, essentially. I basically approach it almost as an editor for a lot of these, where I just render a bunch of shit, like excessive amounts of stuff. And then I like cut it up, or I find the right transitions. And so certain things will be like, oh, that transition works really well. I'm going to lock that shot in there and try to work the rest of the edit around that.
Okay.
So that's a lot of the time is the process. And then a lot of the time it's like, I don't even know if it's going to be 30 frames per second or 24. And sometimes that's dictated by how much time I need to fill or compress, so that this one happened to be 30, but a lot of the others are 24 frames per second. So that's kind of the process with these more tranquil experience type animations. And the funny thing is, like, I don't actually appreciate these until like they're done. And then I get high and I stare at them and I'm like, whoa.
Just checking.
I've never done psychedelics. I've only done weed. Like, I'm sure these would be crazy on shrooms or whatever, but yeah, I only smoke weed, and, but it does make a big difference, weirdly. And I used to, like, the funny thing is when I got started working at Filament, all those years ago in like 2011, all my coworkers like would smoke weed and then work. And I hated that. I was like, I would do it too, but it like made me completely brain dead. It's like I would make mistakes. Sometimes it would work if I was in a repetitive like roto process or something, right? But on the whole, it's like, why am I doing this thing that should be just for fun and relaxing and trying to work at the same time? But they were doing it because it changed their perceptions of the imagery. And I sort of get that now. I still don't like working when I'm high, but I will appreciate the visuals and get more immersed in them when I'm high. Interesting. I'm not saying that drugs makes you more creative. I don't feel more like I never create when I'm high. Like I don't. But I do think it can give you a different perception of the imagery or allow you to be more immersed and present in the experience. Though it depends, everybody reacts differently, but for me, I find it really fun. So I'm like, I've got like a whole library of these now. Like I've got like 18 or 20 pieces that I can just like play,
Yeah. Has that ever led you to kind of go, well, I see this in a different way, or I see a different approach here, and then gone back to a piece and kind of, tweaked it further, kind of thing. So like keeping that
not usually,
digital paint
no.
wet.
Usually once it's done, it's done. And I mean, with these like I definitely hack together very, very quickly. Though, and usually if I want a piece to be very tightly synced to music and it's more pumped up energy, like psychedelic berserker or even mystical cabaret here, usually I'll map that all out beforehand. So like if you actually go back to my previous Nifty drop, which was I think these is just go into my profile. Yeah.
It's coming.
And then, no rush.
No,
and then if you go down to spectral momentum, that piece is the one that I'm most tightly synced to the music out of all of the ones that I've done so far. This is my like usual concert visuals approach. For when I was working for Zed and these other people, it's in the bottom left there. Yeah, that one. I mean, it's not, people can't hear it on the stream, but if you check it out, like the hits are really, really tight. And there's like even the little waveform in there will react to the music. There's the emissive textures all react. The focal length will widen. And this is like my typical thing, like on a build, just before the drop, I'll like make it go crazy with motion blur, do this crazy spin. But here's the focal length animations, right? Where it's like, I've got camera shake on the beat. I've got the focal length pulling out, and then rotation. So it's all very tightly timed to the music. So in this case, I find the music track first. Like I really like this track. Now I want to create visuals to that track. So I can go either way, like with the process.
That's cool.
That process will create a much more tightly synced kind of feel, where I actually go into Premiere and I lay down cuts on every beat that I want to hit. And then I essentially like transpose those cuts into Cinema 4D, because Cinema 4D is not the best at handling audio. So I just kind of like find the frames. I like mark out the frames. I'm like, this one's 30 frames in, this one's like 90 frames in, etc. And then drop those in as markers in Cinema 4D and then animate, make sure that there's a hit or something happening to that. And sometimes I'll go even further and think, okay, well, the bass line or the big beefy hits are here. So let's have that be mapped to how the camera focal length is animating. And then, the snare hits are more like the camera shake or something like that, so there's lots of different ways to spin it, but that process is also more time consuming. So that's why I only had one of those pieces like that on my first Nifty drop. And actually the second Nifty drop here, I didn't do that at all for any of the pieces because I just didn't have enough time. So they're all like, a lot of them are, the beat is mapped like there's like a pulsing like light in psychedelic berserker and in mystical cabaret, and that's actually just done in post. I'm using like additive dissolves in Premiere to create more seamless transitions that feel like they're just like the image getting overexposed, but actually it's masking transitions. And then also I'm I forget what else, just like putting an adjustment layer over a bunch of different sections and then like ramping up the exposure, but making sure it's not for the entire image, because you don't want it to get washed out looking, because then it's too obviously like just some layer in post. So I'll just create curves where the blacks are somewhat crushed, but the highlights are elevated. So it creates more of an effect of the light actually glowing versus, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. But that's so awesome that you're just like kind of diving into all this and just like putting it all out there. I mean, people will be able to interpret this who have a kind of a more, tech background or whatever, or into, the tools and software that you're using. And you've mentioned like Premiere for editing, Cinema 4D for 3D, Octane Render, of course, for the actual rendering. But I guess, you've shared so much, dude, and I really appreciate your time. I don't want to, take up too much of your day, because I know you got
I do have to go enter a Raf Grassetti drop right now.
You're a busy guy. I mean, like, just finally one more thing, like, just where's it, what's happening next year? What where's things going? Are you developing a new style?
Good question.
What does the next year look like?
I have a really big project going with XXX, but I can't really say much about it yet. But it is this collab with a super famous Chinese artist who creates paintings, and I'm basically turning his paintings into 3D pieces. And that's also got Raf Grassetti on the project, and a bunch of other really, really big names like Raoul Marx. We actually pulled Raoul Marx in.
Amazing.
Because I know I managed to I told Triple X all about him and how he's like the fucking best in the industry. And he's been emerging in the NFT scene as well. So, and reaching out to me as well. So I was like, hey man, you want to do this project? And I kind of sold it to him in a way where it's like, I trust this collector like completely, like he's always had my back. Like, so yeah, he's on board. So it's going to be pretty epic.
That's so cool. Raoul Marx, like the OG Astro.
The OGist. Yep.
There's so much stuff there that just blows my mind. Yeah.
I had reached out to him, like when I made that space music video, right? It was essentially a ripoff of his work. Like, let's be real. Like he was the OG Astro. I was like very inspired by that. My piece was different enough for sure. It had its own thing going. And honestly, I couldn't get to the level of quality that he did at that time. And I don't even know that I could today. He's a genius. But at the time I like reached out to him. I was like, dude, you inspired me to make this, and love your work so much. But he either never saw it or just never responded because he's a really busy guy. But now he's like fully here and he's getting more into the community and he's seeing, the benefits of NFTs. So my goal is to just fully pull him into NFTs. Like,
awesome.
No more client work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. He's responsible for so many title sequences.
Oh yeah. Halt and Catch Fire, Man in the High Castle, Westworld. Yeah. True Detective titles blew everyone's mind. And everyone was trying to copy that style for years. Like 2012, I tried to copy that style too with the double exposure look. Like, yeah, he's kicked off so many trends. And his actual astronaut that he gifted to the community as a free model after he released his semi-permanent 2015 titles, everyone used that like crazy. It became a meme. It was literally a meme. And I've seen it in NFT projects now too. The Galaxy eggs. It's that model's in there. It's one of the models.
I've got it in my Dropbox, dude. I've never actually put it into a project.
You've never used it. Yeah.
No, it's there. It's there. Yeah. So,
Totally. Totally.
Oh man, that's great news. And I think we're gonna wrap it up right there.
Sweet.
Yeah. So thanks very much for coming on the podcast, David, and hanging out.
Thanks so much for having me, man. I got over my initial anxiety. Like when you get me rolling, I will keep rolling. But it's that first like couple minutes where I'm just like, I don't know. I hate being on the spot.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense because I'm like an educator and all this stuff, but with tutorials, I can cut out all my fuck ups. Like I'll literally go for like a sentence and be like, oh fuck. And then like, try to say the sentence over and over because I want to communicate exactly what's in my brain, but a lot of the time
that's important with teaching for sure. You want to convey the message clearly, but yeah, I mean, we've known each other for a while, and I really hope that we can actually hang out again in real life one day.
Me too, man. Yeah, those Vegas times were great. Like chilling at the Wolfgang Puck restaurant in Vegas. Yeah, super fun.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that was good. That was great. Yeah, you mean?
But yeah, it's been really great to catch up with you and tell my whole weird NFT story so far.
Yeah. Well, I've loved hearing it, and I also just. Thanks again for just sharing so much about the process and just being just open as I know you are. Totally. People can reach out. I'm sure. We've got the Twitter handle down there, and do check out David's work with sound on. It's super important because then you're not really experiencing it without it. Yeah. It's a shame we can't have the sound come through on the Discord, but
it's all good.
At least people open to explore further and. Yeah, so there's
exactly.
Just check out David's website with all the resources, and that's a great place to start if you want to get into Octane and become the next like disciple of Octane Jesus or something like that.
Totally. Yeah, and seriously, like anybody, reach out to me in DMs. I'm always down to help. So yeah.
I didn't see any questions pop through on the chat, but like if anyone has anything, put it there. Maybe Dave will come back and once he's finished doing what he needs to do,
the chat for sure.
He'll jump in. So anyone who's here, and I'm going to take a snapshot right now, can claim an exclusive,
a POAP.
Exclusive
Hell
POAP.
yeah.
There it is, right there.
Nice.
To mark this momentous occasion. And so, yeah, I just want to come back here and just say, you know, thanks again, everybody, for supporting the Playing Arts Project. We love our community, and you know, hope to see you all back here in another episode of the Playing Arts Podcast. Thanks, David.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you're a great host. Thanks again.
Oh, man. True pleasure. I love talking to you, dude. It's awesome.
Yeah,
all
likewise.
Right. We'll get out of here then. All right. Take it easy.
All right. Bye.
Bye.